Chapter 2345. Coincidentally, he bumped into Zhao Yun'er's family. Since they knew each other, Zhao Ping greeted Zhao Yun'er's family with a smile. Zhao Yun'er's family was still thinking that it was such a coincidence that they bumped into Li Chuang and Zhao Ping today. What shocked Zhao Yun'er's family was that Zhao Ping actually stuffed the Longan brown sugar into Li Chuang's hands and said to Li Chuang, "I just bought this. Take it back and stew it to nourish your body." What was going on? Zhao Ping bought something for Li Chuang? The two of them had nothing to do with each other. At most, they were uncle and sister-in-law. And they weren't blood-related. Even if Zhao Ping was kind enough to show concern for Li Chuang, he didn't have to do this. Spending money to buy something so expensive for Li Chuang? Even blood-related brothers wouldn't do this. Most importantly, Zhao Ping didn't have much money. His own life wasn't good, so why would he care about Li Chuang? This was a little too much. Under the scrutinizing gaze of Zhao Yun'er's family, Li Chuang blushed and felt very embarrassed. So he rejected it and said, "This is too expensive. You should take it back. I can't accept it." However, Zhao Ping still insisted on stuffing it into Li Chuang's hands. "Take it. Since I bought it for you, don't refuse me. I'm a man. I can't eat these things to nourish my body. It's suitable for women. Take it." Zhao Ping smiled foolishly. Li Chuang was in a deadlock. He didn't know what to say, but he also didn't know what to say. He felt a little embarrassed in front of Zhao Yun'er's family. He reckoned that they had also noticed the unusual relationship between him and Zhao Ping. Li Chuang's mouth twitched awkwardly before he took the things. He glanced at Zhao Ping and was a little speechless. Actually, it was a blessing to be able to meet a man like Zhao Ping. If it was in the past, which man would be willing to buy such good food for her? Li Chuang struggled for a while before he accepted Zhao Ping's things. Ahem, Zhao Yun'er coughed lightly and joked at Zhao Ping, "Uncle Zhao, why are you so nice to my second aunt? Could it be that you've fallen for her?" After being teased by Zhao Yun'er, Zhao's face turned slightly red and lowered his head, too, embarrassed to speak. Zhao couldn't help but sigh in her heart. Could it be that Zhao Ping really liked Li Chuang and wanted to be with her? However, Zhao Ping's face was full of shyness, and his silence made it clear that he had admitted to it. Zhao Yun'er's little heart could not accept it. When did these two people hook up with each other? Under the shocked expressions of Zhao Yun'er's family, Zhao Ping smiled and said, "Your second aunt and I are going to get married. We want to live together for the rest of our lives." Zhao Yun'er wasn't the only one who was shocked and couldn't react. Zhao Yun'er's other family members were the same. Their eyes were filled with disbelief. They had thought of many scenarios, but they didn't expect Li Chuang to choose to be with Zhao Ping in the end. Li Chuang saw the reaction of Zhao Yun'er's family and felt even more embarrassed. However, it was useless to feel embarrassed. She would marry into Shui Lan village sooner or later, and the entire old Zhao's family would know. "We're all so old. We felt that we were suitable for each other, so we got together to live together," Li Chuang explained. Chapter 2346. Come to think of it, it was indeed a good choice for Li Chuang to live together with Su Yu. Compared to other men, Zhao Ping was very reliable. He was honest, and willing to help others. Apart from being poor, such a man was hard to find. Zhao Ping had been lonely for so many years, so it was good for him to live with Li Chuang. At least the two of them would accompany and support each other, so they would not be too lonely. Zhao Wenhua and Liang Jinxiao also reacted. Zhao Yun'er smiled and said, "Yes, Yun'er is right. It's good for you to be together. Then I'll give you my blessings first." Zhao Ping smiled shyly and said, "I'll tell you the good news after we set a date." Okay. Li Chuang was even more embarrassed. "Third brother, third sister-in-law, you're so nice. Thank you for your blessings." She felt a touch of warmth in her heart. She originally thought that Zhao Wenhua and Liang Jinxiao would be unhappy when they found out that she was going to remarry. Who knew that she would receive their blessings? This was really rare and not easy. "Second sister-in-law, what are you saying? We're happy for you from the bottom of our hearts that you can live well." After chatting with Zhao Ping and Li Chuang for a while, They said goodbye. After they parted, Zhao Yuna noticed that Zhao Wenhua's face was gloomy and he was frowning as if he was thinking about something. She asked Zhao Wenhua, "Father, you look so serious. What are you thinking about?" Zhao Wenhua smiled bitterly. "Sigh, seeing your second aunt and your uncle Zhao together, I'm both happy and uncomfortable." Zhao Yuna already understood what Zhao Wenhua meant when he said that. Li Chuang and Zhao Ping would naturally receive blessings if they were together. After all, both of them were good people and lived well together. It was a beautiful ending. However, if the two of them got together, it meant that Zhao Wenshui would no longer have a chance. Zhao Wenshui was Zhao Wenhua's second brother. In terms of kinship, Zhao Wenshui was Zhao Wenhua's biological brother. Zhao Wenhua would definitely side with Zhao Wenshui more. It was not easy for Zhao Wenshui to change his temperament. He had finally made up his mind to coax Li Chuang back to live with him. Who knew that he would encounter such an ending? If Zhao Wenshui knew about this, he would definitely be very sad. What Zhao Wenhua was most worried about was whether Zhao Wenshui would be agitated and unable to recover from the setback. Zhao Yuna sighed slightly and comforted Zhao Wenhua. "Father, this is someone else's business. We don't have to worry so much. It's second aunt's freedom to choose who she wants to be with. She knows who is more suitable for her. Some things are like this. If you miss it in the past, there's no way to go back." Zhao Wenhua nodded in agreement. Zhao Yuna was right. Some things were missed. If he had treasured it in the past, he would not have fallen out with her and would not have ended up like this. "Father, don't think about it. Let's go." But Zhao Wenhua hurriedly cast aside the anxiety in his heart. There was no use worrying about this matter. He was still happy. It was not easy for the family to come to Yang City, so they had to shop together. After a while, it will be Zhao Yun's wedding. Just thinking about it made him excited. It was great that the children in his family were all starting their own families. Chapter 2347. The whole family was ready to go home after a shopping spree. With the carriage and donkey cart, there was nothing to be afraid of, no matter how many things they had. Usually, they would not encounter such people in the countryside, so the whole family was in a good mood. Zhao Yun thought that if she had nothing to do in the future, she would take her family out for a stroll and have some fun. After returning, Zhao Yun's family began to prepare. As for the Shitsi manor, they also began to make preparations. With the emperor's intervention, old Madame Mu did not dare to slack off. Everything that needed to be prepared was perfect. Under normal circumstances, the betrothal gifts needed for the Shitsi's marriage were arranged according to the rules. However, because of the wedding preparations, Mu Lianfeng had to stay in the Shitsi manor. He and Zhao Yun would not see each other for a few days until the day of the wedding. Of course, this was according to tradition. Just like Zhao Tianan and Mu Hin had to be separated for a period of time before the wedding. Even though Zhao Yun and Mu Lianfeng missed each other, they endured this period of separation. As the saying goes, absence makes the heart grow fonder. After this short separation, they were really newlyweds. Zhao Yun was still a little excited at the thought of becoming Mu Lianfeng's bride. Thinking about it, in the 21st century, she was a leftover woman who could not get married. Who would have thought that a leftover woman would have a chance to change her life? In this life, God took pity on her and sent her such a good man like Mu Lianfeng. During this time, the emperor also went to Mu Lianfeng. Firstly, he could discuss political affairs with Mu Lianfeng. Secondly, he had other things to deal with in Yang City. After the news that Zhao Yun wanted to marry Mu Lianfeng spread, the villagers were not too shocked. After all, they had known for a long time that Zhao Yun and Mu Lianfeng were together. But what they didn't expect was that Zhao Yun would marry over to be the legal wife, the princess consort. According to their expectations, Zhao Yun was just a little girl from the countryside. Even if she gave birth to a son for Mu Lianfeng, a mother's status would rise because of her son. Marrying Mu Lianfeng was indeed not bad. How could she be the legal wife? Many people sighed that Zhao Yun's life was really good. Just like that, she suddenly flew up the branch and became a phoenix. The child in the ravine had actually become the current princess consort. Some were envious and some were jealous. Many people who didn't get along with Zhao Yun Er's family talked about them behind their backs. But no matter what, the fact that Zhao Yun had become the princess consort could not be changed. Zhao Yuner did not pay attention to these rumors during this period of time. Instead, she calmly recuperated at home. In order to be a beautiful bride and give Mu Lianfeng a little surprise on the wedding day, Zhao Yuner began to take care of her skin. Previously, she had been busy with her life and hadn't had a chance to rest. She also hadn't taken good care of her appearance, so she looked a little rough. Her skin was a little dry and a little dark. It wasn't as fair and tender. As the saying goes, a fair complexion covers up 3 ugly things. It was always good to have fairer skin. Zhao Yuner hurriedly got some cucumber, cut it into slices, and applied it to her face. Then, she leisurely leaned against the chaise lounge and closed her eyes to enjoy it. After applying the cucumber, she felt that her skin was much more moisturized. She estimated that her skin would be better after a few more days of applying it. In these few days, she also tried not to go out in the sun. With Mu Hin and Liang Jinxiao around, she didn't have to do a lot of housework. Chapter 2348. Ghost. Zhao Yun had just fallen asleep when she was startled awake by Zhao Ping shouting. She glared at Zhao Ping with some displeasure. "Are you calling a ghost?" When Zhao Ping heard Zhao Yun's familiar voice, she knew that the woman in front of her was Zhao Yun. Zhao Ping frowned and asked with some confusion, "Zhao Yun, what's wrong with you? There are so many cucumber slices on your face. It can scare people to death in broad daylight. What are you doing with these things? You might as well eat the cucumber. What a waste." Zhao Yun said angrily, "What do you know? This is my secret recipe. If you don't know, don't talk nonsense." Zhao Ping's curiosity was aroused. She continued to ask in a fawning manner, "Secret recipe? What kind of secret recipe was that? What's the effect of this thing?" She had seen Zhao Yun's ability before. Not to mention other things, Zhao Yun liked to do these strange things. Some things that people couldn't understand were really useful. Zhao Ping thought that if she could learn something useful from Zhao Yun, she might be able to help her earn money. Wasn't it the method of making pig offal that she learned from Zhao Yun that helped her open a restaurant and earn money? Zhao Yun thought that it wouldn't hurt to tell Zhao Ping. After all, this woman was very ugly. If she could take care of her skin like Zhao Ping, at least she would be able to walk out with less shame. So she said to Zhao Ping, "Apply cucumber slices on your face. Your skin will be much better and more moist." After listening to Zhao Yun's words, Zhao Ping couldn't help but sigh in her heart. It was just an ordinary cucumber. How could it have such an effect? But after hearing Zhao Yun's words, Zhao Ping thought about it carefully. Zhao Yun's skin had indeed improved over the past few days. She thought that Zhao Yun had applied something good on her face, but she didn't expect that it was just some cucumber. Cucumbers aren't anything valuable. Everyone can afford to use them. In that case, she could also use it. "Do we still have cucumbers at home? I want to try them too." Zhao Ping said excitedly. She couldn't wait. "Why don't you ask Mother?" "He good." Zhao Ping answered happily. Then he thanked Zhao Yun. "Zhao Yun, thank you." It was rare for her to sincerely thank Zhao Yun. This time, she said it because Zhao Yun didn't hide any secret recipes. She wanted to have the opportunity to help her become prettier. Zhao Yun snorted softly. She didn't accept it. After a while, Zhao Ping copied Zhao Yun and stuck cucumber slices all over her face. She would take care of her skin for the next few days. In 2 days, she would have to go to town to see a doctor. The birthmark and freckles on her face needed to be removed the most. What if she met a godly doctor and became prettier? On the other hand, Yili had been pestered by Daodu for the past 2 days, so he brought Daodu deep into the mountains to hunt. After a few practice sessions, Daodu's archery skills had improved. The past 2 days had been fruitful, and they had hunted a lot of game back. Zhao Yun's family ate meat for every meal without spending any money. They almost fattened up. Yili walked in front and helped Daodu scout the situation ahead. Daodu followed behind with a bow and arrow in his hands, ready to shoot at any time. Suddenly, a scream came from the forest. It was a girl's voice. Chapter 2349. Daodu nodded and carefully retreated to the side, fearing that some wild animal might be attacking. The screams were getting closer and closer, as if someone was running towards them. The voice sounded like a girl's. Yili guessed that it was a girl from the village who accidentally entered the mountain and encountered danger. Since they encountered it, they had to save her. After all, it was a life, and they couldn't just leave it behind. Soon he saw a person dressed in men's clothing running over. His appearance was unusually handsome, with a feminine temperament. This person's voice sounded like a woman's as well. However, he was dressed like a man. Yili thought that this person was a little sissy, whether it was his appearance or his voice. A wild boar was following behind this person. The wild boar was very fast, and the sissy ran too fast and fell to the ground. Just as he closed his eyes in despair, a figure suddenly flew over and slashed the wild boar, causing it to fall to the ground. He was originally waiting for the wild boar to bite him, but he didn't feel any pain after a while. He opened his eyes slightly and saw a handsome man standing in front of him. That face, that silhouette, those facial features. It was definitely the best-looking person he had ever seen. There was actually such a good-looking man in the world. It was too shocking, too unexpected. As for the wild boar that was chasing him, it was also split in half and fell to the ground. This person actually killed such a powerful wild boar with a single slash. His kung fu was too powerful. Not only was he good-looking, but his kung fu was also very good. Most importantly, he saved him. He was his savior. Sissy blinked and stared at Yili in front of him for a few more times. This person must be an immortal that descended from the heavens and specially rushed over to save him. Otherwise, how could he explain why he suddenly appeared when he was in danger? Yili felt a little uncomfortable when Sissy heard this. He felt that this person's gaze was too scorching. It seemed like he had bad intentions. How could a man look at another man like that? Could it be that this person was gay? The more Yili thought about it, the more he felt a chill in his heart. He couldn't help but shudder. After that, Yili prepared to leave. Such a big wild boar can also be brought back to eat. Even if they couldn't eat it, they could still sell it. Seeing that Yili was about to leave, Sissy immediately got up from the ground and called out to Yili, Brother Immortal, where are you going? Are you going back to heaven? The corner of Yili's mouth couldn't help but twitch. He wondered if this person was crazy. First, she acted like a sissy, and then she called him Brother Immortal. Not only that, he even asked him if he wanted to return to the heavens. He couldn't fly, so how could he fly into the sky? Crazy, there must be something wrong with his head. Since he was dealing with someone who was mentally ill, he naturally couldn't say anything more. Yili paused for a while and then continued to walk forward. Sissy was a little anxious. He quickly chased after Yili and shouted behind Yili, Brother Immortal, why are you ignoring me? I have to thank you for saving me. You're so good-looking, you're so powerful. Brother Immortal, is this the path to heaven? Will I also go up into the sky with him? I haven't been to heaven yet. I don't know what it's like. Chapter 2350. The sissy behind him was very long-winded, and he was spouting crazy nonsense. Yili was speechless. He wanted to tell the sissy to shut up, but he remembered that he was talking to a mentally ill person. He might not be able to understand him. So he decided to just forget about it. Since the sissy was mentally ill, he would forgive him. Yili walked a few steps, and Daodu came out from the bushes and followed Yili obediently. When the sissy saw Daodu, he was also attracted by Daodu's delicate and cute little face. Such a good-looking baby must be a flower boy. The man who saved him just now must be the flower god. After all, he was so good-looking like a flower. What else could he be but the flower god? Brother Immortal, are you the flower god from the heavens? Such a baby must be your flower boy? Yili's mouth twitched again. What was this person talking about? How did he become the flower god? Daodu lifted his cute little face and said to the sissy, Brother, Uncle Yi is not the flower god, and Daodu is not a flower boy. The sissy was slightly stunned. Not an immortal? If he wasn't an immortal, how could he be so good-looking and powerful? There was a hint of shock in his eyes, as if he couldn't believe it. Are you really not immortals? The sissy couldn't help but confirm. Daoist shook his head heavily. We are villagers at the foot of the mountain. My family lives at the foot of the mountain. I see. The sissy took a deep breath, then looked at Yi Li with an even more infatuated look. I didn't expect this hero to be so skilled even though he's not an immortal. I'm impressed. Thank you for saving my life just now. Otherwise, I would have been trampled to death by a wild boar. The sissy clasped his hands and thanked Yi Li solemnly. Yi Li glanced at the sissy faintly, then said, No need to thank me. Be careful when you go into the mountain alone. There are many wild beasts in the mountain. If you don't have the ability, it's better to leave early. Don't waste time here. The sissy heard Yi Li's words of concern and nodded heavily. Thank you for your reminder, I'll go back now. I just lost my way for a while and ended up in this mountain. After he finished speaking, the sissy's gaze was still fixed on Yi Li. The man in front of her was really the best in the world. Not only was he good-looking and capable, but even his voice was so seductive. Listening to it made people's hearts go numb. She didn't expect such a man to appear in such a remote place. It was really rare. Well, Yi Li responded faintly. She turned around quickly and continued to walk down the mountain with Daoist. He felt uncomfortable being stared at by the sissy, but he couldn't say anything. The sissy was weird, so it was better to leave him as soon as possible. After walking for a while, he realized that the sissy was still following him. He asked unhappily, There's no danger now. Why are you still following me? The sissy grinned, revealing a row of white teeth. His pair of foxy eyes narrowed into slits. He was quite cute. Yi Li was frightened by the evaluation he had just made. How could he think that another man was cute? That was too scary. His face stiffened, and he became more serious. Chapter 2351. Sissy put his palms together and prayed. Then he looked at Yi Li pitifully. Yi Li could not describe his feelings. In any case, he didn't want this sissy to continue following him, and he didn't want him to continue chattering in his ear. But no matter how unwilling he was, he couldn't just leave her here. After all, sissy was already in danger. If he was not around, this person could meet again at any time. Sissy did not know any martial arts, so he did not have the ability to deal with those wild animals. Yi Li thought that after all, it was a human life. He couldn't ignore it. Then he nodded unwillingly. Okay, then follow me down the mountain. Sissy heard and said gratefully, Thank you, hero. Yi Li could not help but add, You're welcome. But I have a condition for bringing you down the mountain. Hero, what is it? Don't talk nonsense beside my ear. Watch your mouth. Sissy was stunned. Did the hero think that he was too naggy? But he did not say anything. It was obvious that he was praising Yi Li. It was the first time he met someone who did not like to be praised. But it was because of this that Sissy felt that Yi Li was different from others. Not only was he handsome and capable, but he also had a good character. He did not like to be flattered. It was rare. To prevent Yi Li from hating him, Sissy followed Yi Li down the mountain quietly. As he walked, he admired Yi Li's handsome back. Especially when he saw Yi Li carrying a wild boar effortlessly, he could not help but be impressed by Yi Li's godly strength. It was rare for such a good man to appear in such a poor and remote place. It seemed that his trip to Sun City was right. God had arranged for him to meet Yi Li. Yi Li walked in front and felt that his back was burning. There seemed to be a gaze staring at him from behind. It was very uncomfortable. However, Yi Li did not want to turn around because he did not want to see the sissy that made him feel extremely uncomfortable. Daoist, on the other hand, noticed that something was amiss. She tugged at Yi Li's arm and whispered into Yi Li's ear, Uncle Yi, does that guy like you? He keeps looking at you just like how my father looks at my mother. Daoist's words sent a chill down Yi Li's spine. This sissy was really staring at him. It was too disgusting. For a grown man to act like this towards another grown man, it was obvious that he was gay and had homosexual tendencies. He was a normal man, so it was natural for him to feel weird being targeted by a man with an abnormal sexual orientation. Yi Li picked up Daodu and hurried down the mountain. He wanted to reach the foot of the mountain as soon as possible so that he could get rid of this sissy. After walking for about 10 to 20 minutes, they finally reached the entrance of the village. Yi Li stopped in his tracks and said unhappily to the sissy, "We're already at the village, so you're safe. You don't have to follow me anymore. I'll take my leave now." After Yi Li finished speaking, he quickly turned around and prepared to leave. However, Sissy called out to him, "Hero, wait." Yi Li became even more impatient. What else? Chapter 2352. The corner of Yi Li's mouth twitched. He felt that he had been inexplicably pestered by this sissy in front of him. Yi Li had promised to bring him down the mountain. Now that they were finally down the mountain, he wanted to stay at Yi Li's place for the night. It was obvious that he was up to no good. Yi Li didn't know if he was using the excuse of staying at Yi Li's place. Seeing Yi Li's impatience and unwillingness, Sissy said pitifully, "Hero, I don't want to trouble you, but I really don't have a choice. You saved my life today. I know you're a good person, so you'll definitely take me in, right? I'll stay here for the night and cause you some trouble. I'll leave tomorrow, okay?" Yi Li frowned and rejected him directly. "I'm sorry, but if you really want to stay, you can stay at someone else's place. I'm also staying at a friend's place, so I can't do that. I hope you can forgive me." After Yi Li said that, he turned around and walked away arrogantly. He decided to ignore this sissy so that he wouldn't push his luck and continue to ask for more. Sissy panicked for a moment. Aya. Brother Immortal completely ignored him. What should he do? Actually, he wasn't lying. He really didn't have anywhere else to go. He couldn't rush back to Yang City at this time. In addition, he couldn't bear to leave Yi Li. That was why he thought of staying at Yi Li's place. He thought Yi Li would agree, but he didn't expect to be rejected. Seeing Yi Li stride away, Sissy quickened his pace and jogged to catch up with Yi Li. After walking for a while, Sissy followed Yi Li to Zhao Yun'er's place. Zhao Yun'er had just finished applying the ointment on her face. Now that she washed it with water, her face looked much more moist. A woman's skin should be taken care of more to make it more delicate. In the past, she was tired of living and had no choice but to show her face in public every day to earn money. Now that she didn't lack money, she could start to enjoy her life. In addition, life in the countryside was leisurely and comfortable. It was perfect for living. As soon as Yi Li arrived at the courtyard, he put down the wild boar on his back and carried a few hares in his hands. Seeing so much game, Zhao Yun'er came out of the house and said with a smile, "What a rich harvest." "Yes, the wild boar is quite big. We can buy it in Yang City. This hare can be left here for us to eat together. Everyone can have more food in the evening." Yi Li smiled at Zhao Yun. In front of others, it was difficult for Yi Li to show her smile under normal circumstances. Only in front of Zhao Yun, she smiled with a touch of affection. Zhao Yun'er also responded with a smile. Wild boar meat did not taste as good as domestic boar meat, but it could still be sold for some money. The wild boar that Yi Li carried back this time weighed about 50 kilograms. Wild boar meat could be sold for 8 or 9 copper coins per catty. This whole pig could be sold for 1 or 2 taels of silver. It was considered pretty good. If this happened when Zhao Yun'er had just transmigrated here, it would definitely be a huge sum of money. Sissy followed Yi Li to Zhao Yun'er's courtyard. He saw that Yi Li and Zhao Yun'er's attitude when talking to each other was completely different from how they treated him. From his perspective as a bystander, it was obvious that Yi Li liked Zhao Yun'er. Then he saw that Yi Li and Zhao Yun'er were about the same age, so he guessed that the two of them might be husband and wife. The possibility of them being husband and wife was quite high. Chapter 2353. He observed Zhao Yun'er's appearance. She seemed to be quite average. Although she could be considered delicate and pretty, her looks were still far from being a beauty. Especially when Zhao Yun and Yi Li stood together, the difference in looks was even greater. A handsome man like Yi Li should be matched with an even prettier beauty. Why did he fall for an ordinary-looking village girl? Sissy frowned and couldn't figure it out. Zhao Yun noticed the sissy, who followed them into the courtyard, so she asked the sissy a question. "You are? My name is Anil." Sissy smiled and introduced himself to Zhao Yun. "May I know why you've come to my house?" Well, Anil glanced at Yi Li first, then revealed his purpose. "I wanted to ask if I could stay at your house for the night. I can't go back to Yang City at this time." Yi Li saw that Sissy had shamelessly followed him to Zhao Yun's house and now mentioned staying in front of Zhao Yun. Before Zhao Yun could reply, Yi Li said, "Yun, your house is already full. There shouldn't be any way to keep him, right? There are other families in our village. Why don't we let him stay at someone else's house?" Anyway, it was fine as long as Sissy wasn't at Zhao Yun's house. He didn't want him to appear in front of her again. Just looking at him made her feel uncomfortable. Zhao Yun frowned and was a little conflicted. There were indeed too many people living in her house. It was really inconvenient to let a stranger stay at her house, but there was an empty house. They could make do with it. Facing this person who called himself Anil, Zhao Yun didn't know if she should reject him. Seeing that he was alone, she felt a little pitiful. If she rejected him, the other families in the village might not be willing to let him stay at their house. If her family didn't have a house to live in, it was even more impossible for other families to have one. Basically, the houses of every family in the village were not big enough. With a few family members squeezed into one house, it was really inconvenient to accommodate a stranger. From this person's attire, Zhao Yun could roughly guess that his identity should not be simple. At the very least, he should be the son of a wealthy family. The material and embroidery of the clothes were very good. How could an ordinary family afford it? However, this person didn't look very tall, only about 1.6 meters. His appearance was also on the feminine side. He didn't look like a man, but more like a woman. Anil hurriedly said, "I know it's troublesome for you to stay overnight, but I can pay for it, just like staying in a restaurant." And Lu said and quickly took out 2 gold ingots from his sleeves. He took the gold ingots and asked Zhao Yun, "Miss, I don't know if this money is enough. I beg you, just let me stay for one night. I'll leave tomorrow." Zhao Yun thought about it and finally agreed. Seeing that this person was really helpless, it wasn't difficult to help him. Anyway, there were many people in her family. One more person wouldn't matter. "All right, my family will vacate a room for you to stay for one night. As for the money, there's no need. It's no trouble at all." Anil said excitedly, "Thank you so much, Mississippi Miss. You're really a great person." "Young master is too polite," Zhao Yun replied with a slight smile. Chapter 2354. Anil also sensed Yi Li's displeasure and felt very uncomfortable. He hadn't done anything wrong, so why did Yi Li seem to hate him so much? Especially the cold aura emanating from Yi Li, which made him shiver uncontrollably. Yi Li frowned and walked towards Anil with a gloomy expression. Anil thought that Yi Li was going to hit him and chase him out of the courtyard. However, when he saw Yi Li standing in front of him, he stopped in his tracks. Because Yi Li was much taller than him, when they stood face to face, Yi Li looked even taller. Anil raised his head and looked at Yi Li. His heart couldn't stop thumping and he was extremely nervous. He quickly took a few deep breaths and tried his best to calm himself down. Standing so close to Yi Li, he could smell the faint scent of sweat on his body. Most importantly, he could see Yi Li's features at such a close distance. They were so beautiful that it was suffocating. Especially his eyes. They were like stars, shining brightly. His eyelashes were very dark and long, like a pair of butterfly wings. They fluttered like butterfly wings when he blinked. Anil felt a strange feeling in his heart. The man in front of him was like a luminous object, emitting a mesmerizing glow. He couldn't help but be attracted to him. Yi Li looked down at Anil. Madame Anne clenched her fists and asked Yi Li nervously, What do you want?" Yi Li didn't answer immediately. Instead, he reached out and placed his hand on Annel's hand. Annel's heart skipped a beat. He wondered if Yili was going to do something to him. But it was broad daylight. It wouldn't be good if someone saw them. If Yili wanted to do something to him, he could have done it secretly at night. Anyway, he was staying here tonight. Just as Annel's imagination was running wild, Yili dug out the 2 gold ingots from Annel's hands. Yili was stunned. Reality seemed to be a little different from what he had imagined. Why did Yili only take the gold ingot in his hand? After Yili received the gold ingot, he said calmly, "Since you're staying overnight, you'll have to pay the lodging fee." Annel came back to his senses and smiled awkwardly. Of course. In any case, he didn't lack that bit of money. As long as Yili was happy, it was fine. Of course, the most important thing was that he could stay here overnight. If he could stay the night, he would be able to find out more about Yili's situation. Spending this small amount of money was definitely worth it. Yili smirked, then turned around and walked up to Zhao Yun. He stuffed the gold ingot he took from Annel into Zhao Yun's hands. Take it. We can't make a losing deal. Besides, he's the one who offered to pay this time. We can't possibly not take the money, right? Zhao Yun smiled and looked at the 2 gold ingots in her hands. She thought that the lodging fee was really high. Even the most luxurious inn in Yang City wouldn't cost so much money for a night. Yili had been living with her for some time. She wasn't sure if he had been influenced by her, but he had also learned this skill. However, seeing that Annel really did look like a rich person who didn't care about money, it was just as Yili said. They really shouldn't not take the money. Zhao Yun nodded. Yes, you're right. But you also have a share of the money. Let's share it. Zhao Yun said and put another ingot of gold into Yili's hand. Yili knew Zhao Yun's character, so he didn't refuse. Chapter 23:55. Yili shuddered at the thought that the sissy would be staying at Zhao Yun's house for the night, which meant that he would have to see him for another night. Goosebumps broke out all over Yili's body, and the feeling in his heart became even stranger. At this moment, he felt like he was being targeted by another man. However, he had a normal sexual orientation and was completely uninterested in the sissy. Yili turned around and went back into the house, feeling a little stifled. He didn't want to face this sissy. Zhao Yun saw Yili's reaction. He seemed to be very unwilling to let Annel stay the night. She didn't know what happened between the 2 of them. Since she had already said it, she couldn't go back on her words. Zhao Yun could only continue to let Madam and stay. Come in and rest for a while. Zhao Yun called out to Annel. Madam and nodded vigorously in response, then eagerly entered Zhao Yun's house. It seemed like it Annel's first time seeing a house in the countryside, so he was very curious and looked around. He couldn't get enough of it. Zhao Yun also allowed Annel to look around her house. Although the house wasn't very big, it was considered pretty good in the countryside. Moreover, this house was basically designed by Zhao Yun, so the structure was a little different from ordinary houses. Annel looked for a while before looking away. He then smiled at Zhao Yun and said, "Your house is really small, but it seems to be the biggest in this village. If a house in the countryside is like this, it naturally can't compare to a young master's house." Annel nodded and said, "That's true. No one can compare to my house. So the houses of ordinary people are actually like this." And Li's mouth muttered something again, and Zhao Yun didn't hear it clearly. However, from Annel's behavior and words, she could tell that he was definitely a local tycoon. It was probably the first time he came to the countryside and saw the living conditions of the villagers. "My family's condition is also like this. I hope Gongzi does not dislike it." Zhao Yun thought that Enlu was not used to living in her family's simple and crude conditions. Annel quickly waved his hand and said, No, I don't mind. I think it's pretty good. The bigger the house, the colder it gets. Your house isn't big, but there are so many people. It's actually quite cozy." Annel grinned. The smile on his face was pure, like that of a little girl. It had been a long time since Zhao Yun had seen someone with such a pure smile. She thought that Annel must be very innocent as well. For some reason, after seeing Annel's smile, Zhao or had a good impression of him. Of course, this kind of good impression was just pure liking. There was no other meaning. I also think that a small room would be cozy. A big house isn't necessarily better than a small one. The most important thing is to live together as a family. Harmony and joy are the most important things. Anil agreed with Zhao Yunner's words. He smiled and replied, "You're right. I have another question. What's the name of that handsome brother just now?" At the mention of Yi Li, Anil's face revealed a hint of shyness. Zhao Yun was slightly taken aback. Naturally, she knew that Anil was asking about Yi Li. However, looking at Anil's expression, it seemed like he had other thoughts about Yi Li. A grown man being overly concerned about another grown man was always very strange. Chapter 2356. Whether it was in ancient times or modern times, there seemed to be homosexuals. The Anil in front of her gave off a feminine vibe. He might be the legendary bottom. He might have been mesmerized by Yi Li's handsome appearance. That was why he cared so much about Yi Li. No wonder Yi Li treated Anil like that. He probably saw through Anil's feelings for her. Zhao Yuna had read a lot of romance novels in the 21st century, so she wasn't opposed to relationships between men. As long as it was true love, it could break through the restrictions of age, status, and even gender. As long as they loved each other, they could be together. There was no need to care so much. Unfortunately, Yi Li's sexual orientation was normal. He probably wouldn't accept Anil. Seeing that Zhao Yuna was silent for a while and didn't answer his question, Anil waved his hand in front of Zhao Yunner's face. "Mississippi. What are you thinking about?" Zhao Yunner came back to her senses. She coughed and replied awkwardly, that. I'm sorry. I was lost in thought. Do you mean the good-looking brother is Yi Li?" "Yi Li?" "Yes, his name is Yi Li." "Yi Li." Anil couldn't help but mutter a few words. Yi Li was a nice name. He thought that the name of a country bumpkin would be very old-fashioned. That was because he heard people calling out other men's names. They were all very old-fashioned. Daju, Dali, Dinyo, Erhu. She was originally worried that Yi Li's name was also old-fashioned. Now that she heard Yi Li's name, she realized that her worries were unnecessary. After all, Yi Li was so good-looking. Those old-fashioned names didn't match. "That. I have another question," Anil continued shyly. Zhao Yunner thought that Anil wanted to find out more about Yi Li. "Young master, please feel free to ask." Unexpectedly, Anil asked, "Are you Yi Li's wife?" Zhao Yunner quickly shook her head and explained, "No, Yi Li is my friend. He's staying at my house temporarily. I'm already someone else's wife. Our child is already 3 years old. We're going to get married in 2 days." Upon hearing that Zhao Yunner was not Yi Li's wife, Anil heaved a sigh of relief. That was good. Suppressing the excitement in his heart, Anil smiled at Zhao Yun and said, "Miss, I wish you all the best." "Ha!" Zhao Yunner laughed heartily. After chatting with Anil for a while, Bian Chao began to eat dinner. Because of the game Yi Li had brought back, the dinner at home was very sumptuous. Anil was also very satisfied with the food. In particular, he had a soft spot for Zhao Yun's home-cooked dishes and roasted rabbit meat. Yi Li was eating at the same table as Anil. When he saw Anil like this, he couldn't help but feel a little disdainful. When he saw Anil finish an entire wild rabbit, Yi Li couldn't control his emotions. He said to Madam, "You've already eaten a lot. Since you've eaten so much, you have to pay for your food." Anil was slightly taken aback. He looked up at Yi Li and tried hard to swallow the food in his mouth. He really didn't care about his image. He had embarrassed himself in front of Yi Li. Yi Li looked at him with disdain. Anil couldn't help but feel a little sad. Chapter 2357. Zhao Yunner was a little confused. Yi Li was usually quite gentle and was very friendly to his family. Why was he so cold and picky when facing Anil? Although Anil cared a little too much for Yi Li, he shouldn't have such an attitude. Anil smiled embarrassedly. He quickly took out another gold ingot and handed it to Zhao Yun. Of course. Yi Li is right. The dinner tonight is so sumptuous, of course we should pay more. Miss Yuner, I wonder if this is enough. The family at the dinner table saw Anil take out gold ingots like other people take out copper coins. They couldn't help but sigh at how rich Anil was. Zhao Yun was also shocked by Anlu. This person is really a big local tyrant. Just going out for a trip, how many gold ingots did he bring with him? Even if he was from a rich family, he would still feel a little pain when taking out gold ingots, right? Anil seemed to have no concept of money. Zhao Yun thought that she had received 2 gold ingots from him for one night. She felt that she had taken a big advantage of him. It's enough. Let's not talk about eating for a day. It's enough for you to eat at my house for a few days, Zhao Yuner said. Although the food at his house was good, 1 gold ingot was enough to last them for a long time even if they charged according to the restaurant's price. Is that so? Then can I stay at your house for a few more days? Miss Yuner, I think this place is pretty good. I want to stay for a few more days and have fun. Anil said excitedly. Other than wanting to stay for a few more days, the most important reason was that he didn't want to leave. Because if he left, he wouldn't be able to see Yi Li again. Sob. He really couldn't bear to leave. No. Before Zhao Yuner could reply, Yi Li replied with disdain. He couldn't stand this sissy, Lu Yuan anymore. He would probably go crazy, let alone stay for a few more days. Looking at Yi Li's angry face, Anlu curled his lips with some grievances. He tried hard to hold back his tears and not let himself cry. Zhao Yuner looked at the scene in front of her very awkwardly. Yi Li's dislike of Anil was beyond her imagination. Perhaps as a straight man, he couldn't accept a sissy who was interested in him. Yi Li took a deep breath and adjusted her mood to be a little normal. The world is big and there are so many places you can go. Since you have money, you can live happily anywhere. Why do you stay and make trouble? Anlu put down the food in his hand and said pitifully, Actually, I ran away from home this time. I don't know where I can go by myself. It wasn't easy to come here. I think it's pretty good, so I want to stay for a few more days. After waiting for a few more days, I might have to go home. I don't know if I'll have the chance to come out again. Zhao Yuner and her family felt pity for Anil when they heard him speak. So Anil had run away from home. It wasn't easy. If he didn't know where to go, what was the use of having money? Besides, Anil was so thin and weak. If people found out that he had a lot of money on him, it would be the most dangerous thing. Who knew how many people would target him? If he met someone who wanted to rob him, Madam and would be in danger. Chapter 2358. Liang Jinxiao was a kind-hearted person. When he heard Anil's words, he pitied him. She asked, My child, how could you run away from home? How worried will your family be if you leave home like this? Anil's eyes reddened at Liang Jinxiao's question. He wiped the tears from the corners of his eyes and said, Auntie, you don't know. Actually, I don't really want to run away from home, but I have no choice. My family is forcing me to marry someone I don't like. That's why I want to run away from home. I want to scare them and wait for them to compromise before I go back. If they force me to marry someone I don't like again, then I won't go back for the rest of my life. Liang Jinxiao was silent for a moment. So that's what he was trying to say. Yi Li glanced at Anil indifferently, wondering if Anil was lying to gain sympathy. However, regardless of whether Anil was lying or not, it was too embarrassing for a man like him to cry. As the saying goes, men don't cry easily. He didn't know how to be embarrassed to cry over such a trivial matter in front of so many people. Zhao Yun furrowed her brows and was a little angry. The worst thing about ancient times was that parents' orders and matchmakers' words were highly valued. They couldn't even make decisions for the people they were going to spend the rest of their lives with. It was really disappointing and helpless. Even wealthy families couldn't make their own decisions in marriage. It was indeed painful to live with someone you don't like for the rest of your life. If that was really the case, then it was understandable why Anil ran away from home. She thought about how her marriage with Mu Lianfeng had been delayed for so long because of these so-called matching families. If it wasn't for the emperor's mediation, she and Mu Lianfeng probably wouldn't have been able to consummate their marriage. Zhao Wenhua sighed, child, you can be angry, but you still have to listen to your parents. Your family will definitely be very worried if you leave like this. You have to go back early. You have to have a good talk with them. You can't just leave like this. Anil sobbed. No, I won't go back if you force me to marry someone I don't like. Liang Jinxiao patted Zhao Wenhua's hand, signaling Zhao Wenhua not to speak. Child, if you don't mind, you can stay at my house for the next few days. My house is very lively, but it might be a little crowded when you live there. As long as you don't mind. Liang Jinxiao smiled gently and said to Anil. Although she was a parent, her thoughts were different from Zhao Wenhua's. She still had to choose someone she liked for the rest of her life. Living with someone without feelings would be a kind of torture. Just like how she treated her children, she would choose the person she liked according to their wishes, and not just make do with whatever she wanted. Otherwise, she would have arranged another marriage for Zhao Tianan. Now that Zhao Tianan had Mu Hin, he liked Mu Hin. Of course, Liang Jinxiao was also very satisfied with Mu Hin. That's right. Since you don't have anywhere to go, why don't you stay at my house for a few days? You can leave when you've decided where you want to go or when you want to go home. Mu Hin had a soft personality. After hearing Anil's words, she also expressed sympathy, so she followed behind Liang Jinxiao and agreed. Anil was more than happy to receive an invitation from Zhao Yun's family. She immediately nodded and said, Okay. Chapter 2359. No matter how unhappy Yili was, he couldn't say anything against it when Zhao Yun's family nodded in agreement. He was just an outsider in Zhao Yun's family and couldn't make decisions for Zhao Yun's family. Zhao Yun's family had the final say on who to let stay. He couldn't get in the middle. Yili felt a little stifled when he thought about how he would have to face this sissy in the next few days. This feeling of being entangled was very uncomfortable. Anil was very excited. He glanced at Yili from time to time as he ate Zhao Yun's food. Zhao Yun sighed in her heart when she saw Anil's reaction. Did she cheat Yili by taking in Anil? Seeing Yili's expression, she seemed to be very unwilling. She looked at Anil again and understood that he liked Yili. Zhao Yun began to think about Anil's reason for running away from home. He didn't want to marry someone he didn't like. Was it because of Anil's sexual orientation? He wasn't interested in women, even though he didn't want to marry, but in this era, the acceptance of men between men was still very low. Even in the 21st century, it was still difficult for two men to be together openly. If they were really together, they would have to accept the views of the world. Zhao Yun put away the messy thoughts in her mind. She didn't want to think too much about it. Even if Anil was interested in Yili, it would be futile if Yili didn't agree or accept him. In the next 2 days, Anil's arrival added a lot of joy to Zhao Yun's family. Zhao Yun's family didn't have anything else to do other than preparing for Zhao Yun's wedding. The wedding date was getting closer and closer, and the crown prince's residence had also sent people to deliver a lot of things. The betrothal gifts piled up in Zhao Yun's room. When the Shitsi manor sent the betrothal gifts, many people in the village came to watch. When had anyone seen such a scene? Meanwhile, Zhao Yun went from being a village woman to being the high and mighty Shitsi's wife. Everyone in Shuilan village took delight in talking about it, so much so that everyone in Yang City knew that the Shitsi was going to marry a peasant woman. Hence, Zhao Yun became a celebrity in Yang City. In the 21st century, she would definitely be an internet celebrity. But many ordinary women hope to be like Zhao Yun. One day they can also have a meteoric rise and marry a powerful and influential man. Zhao Yun's experience gave others the feeling that Cinderella had met her Prince Charming. Anil stayed in Zhao Yun's house for a while and learned about Zhao Yun's situation. He only knew that Zhao Yun was going to marry the current Shitsi, which surprised him. When he first met Zhao Yun, he thought that she was just an ordinary village woman. He didn't expect her to become the Shitsi's wife in the blink of an eye. Yes, the truth was too shocking. Soon, it was Zhao Yun's wedding day. The Shitsi manor had arranged for a wedding nanny. Early in the morning, Zhao Yun'er was dragged out of bed to dress up before she had slept enough. The wedding dress that she had ordered was also done. It was very beautiful. The pattern on it was embroidered with gold silk. One look and one could tell that it was very expensive. It was a pity that such an exquisite wedding dress could only be worn once. After all, a woman could only get married once in her life under normal circumstances. When she tried on the wedding dress after she got married, the whole family was stunned. A wedding dress that cost a lot of money was indeed different. Chapter 2360. It seemed that Mu Lianfeng didn't want her to be wronged at all, so he brought all the good things to her. Su Qingyao was also looking forward to the wedding. She only hoped that everything would go well and she would officially become Mu Lianfeng's wife from today on. The matchmaker arranged by Mu Lianfeng this time was very famous in Yang City. Many young ladies from big families got married. The matchmaker looked like a kind old woman. Seeing the time, the matchmaker began to dress Zhao Yun. While combing Zhao Yun's hair, she sang, "Comb to the head, don't worry about wealth. Comb to the head, don't worry about illness or worry." When the matchmaker finished singing, Zhao Yu's hair was also combed. After this period of conditioning, Zhao Yun's hair became much softer than before. It was black and smooth, very easy to take care of. After combing, the matchmaker looked at Zhao Yun with a smile and couldn't help praising, "The bride's eyebrows and eyes are so delicate. I can tell at first sight that you are a blessed person. Today is a good day. Let's wear a lily bun. I wish the bride and groom a peaceful and happy life." The matchmaker was very eloquent and her words were very pleasant. Zhao Yun nodded with a smile, "Thank you." "You're welcome." The matchmaker replied with a smile and then began to work on Zhao Yun's hair. In Zhao Yun's room, Liang Jinxiao, Mulan and her sister were all there. Other sisters-in-law of old Zhao's family also came to join in the fun. For them, it was not only Zhao Yun's wedding day, but also the most important thing was that Zhao Yun married Mu Lianfeng and became the current princess consort, which made their old Zhao's family proud. Who wouldn't be envious when bragging? After seeing Zhao Yun's wedding dress and the gold jewelry she was going to wear, they all praised. It was different to be the princess consort. Even if one of these good things was taken out, the country people couldn't earn it in their lifetime. The matchmaker was used to this and soon dressed Zhao Yun up. Zhao Yun's face was smeared with a layer of white powder and some rouge to make her face look more healthy. After dressing up carefully, she looked more beautiful than usual. After dressing up, the people in the room praised her. "Little Yun, you're really beautiful today. You're as beautiful as a fairy. Tonight, you'll definitely captivate the young master." Feng Xianxia praised, but it was a little exaggerated. Qian Zhuzhe smiled as well. "It's indeed beautiful. Clothes make the man, and Buddha makes the gold. This is indeed the truth." After dressing up like this, Yun doesn't lose out to those noble young ladies. Zhao Ping looked at Zhao Yun's beautiful appearance. Although she admitted that Zhao Yun was very beautiful today, she didn't want to say it out loud because she was very jealous. Zhao Yun was lucky enough to marry the current Prince Shizi. Now, she could wear such a beautiful wedding dress and wear such beautiful jewelry. Thinking back to when she married Qin Yuan, at that time, she felt that it was good. Now, compared to Zhao Yun, the difference was too big. There was no harm without comparison. She probably couldn't compare to Zhao Yun in this lifetime. Liang Jinxiao's eyes were a little red. It was said that the most beautiful moment of a bride's life was the day of her wedding. But her daughter's wedding meant that she would no longer be part of her maiden family. When Liang Jinxiao thought of this, she couldn't help but feel sad. Her Yun would be a member of the Shizi estate from now on. Chapter 2361. Seeing Liang Jinxiao's reddened eyes, Qian Zhuzhe hurriedly comforted her. Feng Xianxia followed behind Qian Zhuzhe and echoed, "That's right, third sister-in-law. Why are you crying? Yun'er is so lucky. She's going to marry the heir apparent today and become the heir apparent's consort. How many people can't wait for this to happen? If it were me, I would be grinning from ear to ear. Why would I cry?" Feng Xianxia was extremely envious of Liang Jinxiao in her heart. If she could give birth to a girl like Zhao Yun, she would probably wake up laughing in her dreams. If her daughter became the heir apparent's consort, wouldn't she be worry-free for the rest of her life and live a good life that everyone envied? Hearing Qian Zhouzhe and Feng Xiangxia's words, Liang Jinxiao felt much better. That's right. She and Zhao Wenhua had long hoped that Yun would marry the heir apparent and become the heir apparent's consort. They didn't want to live together without any status and be talked about by others. How could she be sad about the day that she had waited so long for? Liang Jinxiao hurriedly rubbed her eyes and wiped away her tears. A smile tugged at the corner of her mouth as she replied, "That's right, that's right. It's Yun's big day. I should be happy." A third sister-in-law, that's right. After Zhao Yun dressed up, the wedding nanny took out a red veil and placed it on Zhao Yun's head. Zhao Yun sat in front of the bed and quietly waited for Mu Lianfeng's arrival. The heir apparent's wedding procession would probably be very large and there would be many people. It would probably take some time, so Zhao Yun wasn't in a hurry. At this time, many people had already arrived at Zhao Yun's house. In addition to the people from the village who wanted to join in the fun and eat at the banquet, many people from the nearby villages who liked to watch the fun specially came to Shui Lan village. Among them, many young girls wanted to see what the heir apparent looked like and how beautiful he was. For a moment, Zhao Yun's small yard was crowded with people. Everyone was crowded together, as if they were holding a large-scale event in the 21st century. Liang Jinxiao accompanied Zhao Yun in the house, while the men of the Zhao family made some arrangements. Seeing that there was not enough manpower, Yi Li and Anil volunteered to help. During their time at Zhao Yun's house, they already felt like family with Zhao Yun. "It's so lively today." Anil went up to Yi Li and giggled. Anil had never seen such excitement before, so he was very excited. This was the first time she saw villagers getting married. Especially when she saw so many villagers, she felt that it was unusually lively. Unlike in her house, there were rarely such lively events. Everyone gathered together and happily chatted and gossiped. This was something he didn't even dare to think about. After seeing how good the countryside was, Anil was even more reluctant to go back. He couldn't wait to stay at Zhao Yun's house forever. He would even be happy to live there for the rest of his life. Yi Li didn't respond to Anil. Instead, his face darkened, as if he was unhappy. Anil glanced at Yi Li's face and could clearly feel Yi Li's displeasure. It seemed like this guy had been like this since early in the morning. Who made him angry? Anil went up to Yi Li and fawned over him. "Yi Li, what's wrong with you? Are you not feeling well? Why do you have such an ugly face? Today is Miss Yun's wedding. Everyone is laughing to add to the festive atmosphere. Don't cry and look unlucky." Chapter 2362. Anil was a little hurt. He cared so much about Yi Li, but Yi Li treated him with such an attitude. But it seemed like Yi Li never looked at him in the eye. He always looked at him with disgust, which made him a little sad. He didn't think he did anything wrong, so why did Yi Li hate him so much? Sigh. Seeing that Yi Li didn't treat anyone else like this, he only treated her this way. Anil felt more and more upset the more he thought about it. He didn't know what he could do to change Yi Li's attitude towards him. He didn't ask for Yi Li to like him a lot, as long as he didn't hate him as much as he did now. Even though Yi Li treated him coldly, Anil still forced a smile and said to Yi Li with a grin, "I'm just concerned about you. You should share everything with others. Don't keep it to yourself. Otherwise, how uncomfortable would it be?" Yi Li looked at Anil coldly and warned him, "Don't you understand what I'm saying? How many times do you want me to repeat myself? You don't have to care about my business." Anil felt wronged. He cared about others, but others didn't like it. Seriously, he took his good intentions for granted. If it weren't for the fact that he liked Yi Li, he wouldn't have bothered with him. Anil sighed deeply. He thought about how everyone liked him since he was young. How many people liked him? How many people tried to curry favor with him at the restaurant? But he didn't like anyone except for Yi Li. This man was good in every way. He was outstanding in every way. He was the best in the world. If he hadn't met him personally, he wouldn't have believed that such a man existed in the world. The only bad thing was that her attitude towards him was too cold. Anil felt defeated for the first time, but he couldn't do anything about Yili. Yili ignored Anil and turned around to continue helping Zhao Wenhua. Anil stood there in a daze as he watched Yili turn around and leave. His eyes reddened slightly. The surrounding bustle was still going on, and there were many villagers chatting and laughing. Anil tried his best to calm himself down and comfort himself to continue working hard. Sincerity can move metal and stone. As long as he was determined to do something well, one day Yili would accept him. And Li's lips curled into a smile as he cheered himself on. At about 10 o'clock, a large group of people arrived in front of Zhao Yun'er's courtyard. From the looks of it, there were at least 100 people. Normally, there would be at most a dozen or so people getting married. The wedding procession of over 100 people was still quite shocking. Everyone was wearing red clothes and playing musical instruments. It was unusually festive and lively. The leader was Mu Lianfeng. He was also wearing a red wedding outfit. Because of his excitement, he was more high-spirited than usual. He looked even more handsome and elegant. His eyebrows were like stars. His handsome face looked as if it had been carefully sculpted. His jade crown was tied up, and his sharp eyebrows added a bit of heroic spirit. Mu Lianfeng sat on the back of a horse, looking very noble. The young ladies who came to join in the fun and wanted to see the real face of the crown prince were deeply mesmerized by Mu Lianfeng's appearance. After seeing Mu Lianfeng's appearance, they knew what a handsome man was. Compared to the men in the mountains, Mu Lianfeng's appearance was not just a little bit better. There was no comparison at all. Chapter 2363. It was the same reaction as fans in the 21st century seeing their idols. Isn't the heir apparent a bit too handsome? He's really too good-looking. Oh my God. He's so good-looking. Not to mention that he has status and money, I'm willing to throw myself at him just based on his face. That's right, that's right. After seeing the heir apparent's true appearance, I realized that the men in the countryside are too different. I'm afraid that after seeing the heir apparent's appearance, I won't be interested in those sloppy men in the village anymore. How lucky is this Zhao Yun'er to be able to marry the heir apparent and have the heir apparent take her as his wife? Why didn't the heavens bestow me one? Her luck is 1 in a million. Ordinary people can't enjoy this kind of good fortune. We can only be envious. Let's not think about such a good thing. Not to mention being the heir apparent's wife or concubine, even being the heir apparent's maidservant would be my dream come true. A woman lowered her head and touched the tuft of hair in front of her chest as she spoke with a shy expression. Mu Lianfeng's astonishing appearance had captivated the hearts of many girls. Mu Lianfeng didn't notice the reactions of the people around him at all. He only hoped that he could quickly receive Zhao Yun'er and marry her back to the heir apparent's residence. Behind Mu Lianfeng was another man on horseback. This man was wearing bright yellow clothes. It was none other than the current emperor. It was rare for him to leave the palace for such a lively occasion. He was also interested in seeing the customs of the people in this kind of joyous occasion. He wanted to get closer to the common people and understand their lives more. In addition, he didn't have anything else to do, so he simply came to join in the fun to pass the time. It had to be said that he was right to come today. It was very lively along the way and the emperor was in a very good mood. Along the way, he learned more about the local customs. Seeing that it was the first time he was so close to the people, he felt very gratified. The procession finally stopped in front of Zhao Yun'er's courtyard. Anil was also joining in the fun. He followed the crowd and watched the mighty procession. When he saw the bright yellow figure on the horse, his heart suddenly tightened. Damn. *CK. Anil's eyes widened in disbelief. He rubbed his eyes and continued reading. His heart thumped loudly as he muttered, "It's over. It's over." It really was him. The world was so big, but why did it feel so small sometimes? How could they bump into him here? Obviously, such a poor and remote place shouldn't have been discovered. Shocked, Anil quickly turned around and prepared to escape. *CK. This must not be discovered. If he was found out, then he would have to go home with his tail between his legs. He was having a good time here, so how could he bear to go back? Anil had just run a few steps when Zhao Wenhua called for Anil to come over and help. Anil frowned and said pitifully, "Uncle Zhao, my stomach hurts and I want to take a dump. Let's go to the latrine now." Zhao Wenhua nodded. "All right, go ahead." Humans had 3 urges, so they couldn't be forced to hold it in. Anil nodded vigorously. He had only taken a few steps when Zhao Wenhua called out to him again. "Wait!" Anil thought that there was something else, so he reluctantly turned around and asked with a smile, "Uncle Zhao, is there anything else?" Zhao Wenhua smiled foolishly. "Nothing else. I just wanted to say that you haven't taken your toilet paper. Do you want to take some?" Chapter 2364. Anil didn't expect Zhao Wenhua to talk about this. He thought that Zhao Wenhua was going to say something important. So he said to Zhao Wenhua, "No need, no need." Zhao Wenhua was stunned. His face was full of shock and confusion. "Young master, and don't you use toilet paper when you clean your bowels?" Anil's face turned red in an instant. Well, it seemed that he was misunderstood. What should he do? If he didn't use toilet paper to clean his ass, he would probably be disliked, right? Well, not to mention others, if he met someone who didn't clean his ass when he was cleaning his bowels, he would probably also dislike him. "Uncle Zhao, actually I still have toilet paper in my hand, so you don't need to use it anymore." Anil explained with a red face. Oh, so it's like that." Zhao Wenhua nodded. If that was the case, then it was understandable. At first, he thought that Anil really didn't clean his ass when he was cleaning his bowels. Like I said, no one would have such a fetish. "Ahem, Uncle Zhao, I'll go to the toilet first." Anil quickly flashed to the back of Zhao Yun'er's house. Fortunately, there were many people in Zhao Yun'er's courtyard today. Otherwise, he would have been discovered. In order to continue staying in Zhao Yun'er's house, he must hide his whereabouts well. It was much safer to hide behind Zhao Yun'er's house. The bustle in front of the courtyard continued. Mu Lianfeng and the emperor dismounted from their horses. Mu Lianfeng walked to Zhao Yun'er's courtyard with a face full of metal. At this time, the matchmaker said with a smile, "The groom is here to pick up the bride. The happy occasion has arrived. The bride is preparing to get married." After shouting, the matchmaker went to Zhao Yun'er, helped Zhao Yun'er up, and helped Zhao Yun'er out. The eyes of the people in the courtyard suddenly fell on Zhao Yun'er's body. The bright red wedding dress was very dazzling in the sun, especially the golden embroidery on it, which was even more dazzling. All the girls present praised Zhao Yun. Today's dress was so beautiful that it made people envious. After the matchmaker took Zhao Yun out, she handed her to Mu Lianfeng. She smiled at Mu Lianfeng and said, "The groom is finally here. Hurry and get on the sedan chair." "Good." Mu Lianfeng was full of smiles. His gaze landed on Zhao Yun, and he couldn't bear to look away. Seeing Zhao Yun, standing in front of him in a red wedding dress, his heart was filled with unspeakable joy. He had been waiting for this day and night, and finally, this day had arrived. To protect his wife's Tuza's wife Tesses a wife's to be, believed to protect him. At this moment, he realized how happy he was to be able to marry the woman he loved. The matchmaker helped Zhao Yun onto the sedan chair and shouted to set off. Everything happened too fast for Zhao Yun'er's family. Zhao Wenhua and Liang Jinxiao stood together. They were reluctant to let Zhao Yun'er leave, but they knew that they had to let Zhao Yun'er leave. Because Zhao Yun was going to marry Mu Lianfeng and become his Shizi's consort. From now on, no one would dare to mention Zhao Yun'er's pregnancy before marriage. No one would laugh at Zhao Yun and Mu Lianfeng being together, but Mu Lianfeng never gave her a status. The mighty wedding procession left after a few minutes. Zhao Wenhua and Liang Jinxiao looked at the departing procession, and their eyes couldn't help but turn red. They were so happy that they cried tears of joy. They were happy for Zhao Yun. Finally, the day they had waited for had arrived. Chapter 2365. There was a touch of sadness and reluctance in his eyes, but at the same time he wished Zhao Yun well. Yun, you must be happy. I know that this man will treat you well, so I let go. If he dares to bully you in the slightest, I will not let him off easily. Yili said in a low voice. When the wedding procession disappeared from sight, Yili turned around and disappeared from Zhao Yun's courtyard. After the wedding procession left, Zhao Yun's house was bustling with activity. A banquet was held. Because Zhao Yun did not have a chef to cook for this banquet, they specially went to the town to invite a chef over. Although they spent more money, it was not worth mentioning to Zhao Yun's family now. This chef's culinary skills were not bad. Although some dishes were not as good as Zhao Yun's, most of the dishes were better than those in restaurants. It was because of this that this chef was very famous in the nearby villages. Zhao Yun's family specially added money to let this chef cancel other appointments and come over to cook for Zhao Yun's family. Zhao Wenhua greeted the guests, while the chef was already busy in the kitchen. Not long after, there was a burst of fragrance coming from the kitchen. The people who came to attend the banquet sat at the table one by one and prepared to eat. After Anil confirmed that the wedding procession had left, he came out of Zhao Yun's backyard and came to the front yard. After a busy morning, his stomach was already growling with hunger. When he was tempted by the fragrance of the dishes, he could not help but swallow his saliva. Anil walked in front of Zhao Wenhua and asked, "Uncle Zhao, can we eat now? I'm so hungry." Anil touched his flat stomach and continued, I just had a lot of diarrhea. Now I'm even hungrier." Zhao Wenhua was originally a little sad and reluctant, but after hearing Anil's words, he was amused. This kid is really interesting. All he thought about was eating after he pooped. If you have something to say it directly without any hesitation. However, people from the countryside were simple and honest. He did not mind Anil's behavior. During this period of time, Anil had been staying at her house, and Zhao Wenhua had even treated Anil as her own son. "I'll ask the kitchen and get you something to eat," Zhao Wenhua said. "Thank you, Uncle Zhao." Anil smiled sweetly. "You're welcome." Zhang Wenhua went to the kitchen and brought out a bowl of meat pie soup for Anil. There was a layer of green spring onions floating on top of the meat patty soup. It was fragrant and beautiful. One look at the meat patty soup and one could tell that it was extremely delicious. Anil took it and couldn't wait to eat it. Zhao Wenhua hurriedly said, "It's hot. Eat slowly, don't eat too quickly. If it burns my mouth, I won't." Anil chuckled and nodded heavily. "Uncle Zhao, I understand." Then he held the bowl and picked up a piece of meat patty. He blew on it a few times and waited for it to cool down before stuffing it into his mouth. He had never eaten such a thing before. It was his first time eating it and it felt very good. He couldn't help but praise Zhao Wenhua. "Uncle Zhao, it's delicious. It's so delicious." The meat was very fresh and tender, and it was slightly smooth when it entered his mouth. His mouth was filled with the fragrance of the meat as he chewed. He was already hungry, and eating something delicious at this time made him feel indescribably satisfied. Eat slowly if it's delicious. Uncle Zhao has other things to do." Chapter 2366. Zhao Wenhua waved his hand and chuckled. It's fine. Take your time to eat. You can handle the workload at home." Anil smiled contentedly. He had food to eat and didn't have to work. He was living a blissful life. Actually, he preferred to help out more. Since he had nothing to do anyway, it would be more fun to help out. There were many people in the courtyard. Anil held his bowl and found a quiet corner to sit down and finish the bowl of meatloaf soup. After he finished eating, he still wanted more. However, he was too embarrassed to ask Zhao Wenhua for more. Anil pinched his cheeks. They had really become rounder and fatter. How long had it been since he came to Zhao Yun's house? All he knew was to eat, and eat. All kinds of delicious food tempted him to eat a lot. How could he not gain weight if he continued eating like this? Anil was afraid that he would become a little fat pig one day and not be loved by everyone. After putting down his bowl and chopsticks, Anil realized that he couldn't find Yi Li in the entire courtyard. He asked Zhao Yun'er's family if anyone had seen Yili. However, none of them knew where Yili had gone. There were too many things to do today. Everyone's attention was on Zhao Yun'er's wedding. Now that Zhao Yun'er had been picked up by the wedding procession and they were busy preparing for the wedding, no one had the energy to care about Yili's whereabouts. Anil became anxious when he didn't see Yili. He wondered if Yili was so sad about Zhao Yun'er's wedding that he left the Zhao family. If he left without a word, no one would know about it. Would he still be able to see Yili in the future? After searching the entire courtyard for Yili to no avail, Anil suddenly felt like crying. He quickly went elsewhere. Even if Yili wanted to leave, he would have to take him with him. In any case, he was determined to follow him. Anil was panting as he ran around, looking for Yili. Finally, he found Yili in front of a tree. At this moment, Yili was sitting on a tree branch. He had one hand on his leg and the other hand was holding a bottle of wine. He was slowly drinking from it. He raised his head and looked in the direction of the wedding procession, his eyes filled with deep sorrow. There was an indescribable sense of desolation in his black, gem-like pupils, which made one's heart ache. Panting, Anil ran to the tree and found Yili. When he saw Yili in such a state, he felt as though his heart was being gnawed by something. Yili seemed to be immersed in his own world. He didn't even look at Anil. Anil did not have the heart to disturb Yili. He was even more afraid that Yili would ignore him the moment he spoke. After taking a few deep breaths, Anil leaned against the tree trunk and sat down. Since he found Yili, it was good that he didn't leave. Actually, he didn't need to ask what was wrong with Yili to know the reason. Yili was so sad because of Zhao Yun'er's marriage. After living together for a while, Anil could tell that Yili was infatuated with Zhao Yun. How could a man not be sad when he saw the woman he loved marry another man? But Yili had no choice. Feelings could not be forced. There was nothing he could do if Zhao Yun'er chose to marry someone else. Although Anil felt that Yili was the best man in the world, other women did not feel the same way. Chapter 2367. But now that she saw Yili's heartbroken expression after Zhao Yun'er got married to another man, she felt her heart ache. It seemed like she would be happy as long as Yili was happy. Seeing Yili sad made her feel worse than anyone else. Perhaps for someone you truly like, you shouldn't pray to be with her every day. Instead, you should pray for her to be happy. As long as Yili was happy, he would be satisfied. Anil didn't know what to say to comfort Yili. She just quietly accompanied him. Perhaps silent companionship was the best choice. The courtyard of Zhao Yun'er's house was filled with villagers. The banquet started in a lively manner. Needless to say, the relatives from the Liang family came. They happened to see the scene of Zhao Yun'er getting married. Every one of them was envious. Wu Zhenju, his daughter, and Liang Jinfen weren't just envious. They were also jealous of Zhao Yun'er's good fortune. Why didn't such a good thing happen to them? Why did it happen to Zhao Yun'er's family? If it was any other banquet, they would probably fight to eat. But this time, they were so upset that they couldn't even taste the food. They didn't have much of an appetite even when the table was full of good food. Wu Zhenju said to Liang Xianxia, "Why are you so useless? How can you still have the mood to eat?" Wu Zhenju said angrily when he saw Liang Xianxia burying her head in eating. Liang Xianxia looked up and said pitifully, "Mother, how am I useless when I'm just eating? For today's banquet, you specifically told me not to eat last night. Today, I came over with a hungry stomach to eat more. Plus, I didn't eat in the morning, so I'm starving. Why are you scolding me when I finally get to eat something? Aren't you just picking on me for no reason?" Liang Xianxia was flustered. Originally, seeing Zhao Yun'er get married in such a beautiful and glamorous way, his heart was already uncomfortable enough. He could only use the delicacies to divert his attention and comfort his heart. In the end, her mother was good. Just because of such a simple matter, she still wanted to scold her. Wasn't she obviously trying to pick a fight? Wu Zhenju looked at Liang Xianxia in disappointment. "You're so careless. No one is like your big sister Yuna, who married a good husband and is more enthusiastic about eating than anyone else." Liang Xianxia pulled a long face and felt even more wronged. Mother, aren't you looking for trouble and deliberately scolding me? How is it that I'm not active just because I don't eat? Now, you can find a good husband just by not eating? Wu Zhenju said angrily, I'm saying that you're not focusing on the right path. Shouldn't you be thinking about what you did wrong? Why didn't you find a good husband like your big sister Yuna? Yet all she could think about was food. All you know is to eat. If you were like Yuna, no matter how many delicacies you eat, you wouldn't be able to finish them all. What's the use of staring at the food in front of you now? She didn't expect that Zhao Yuna would become the current heir consort after marrying Mu Lian. That was a meteoric rise, and she would become a phoenix. Not to mention that Zhao Yuna would wear gold and silver and live the life of a rich person in the future. Even Zhao Wenhua and Liang Jinqiao would be able to enjoy life together. This was the so-called, when a man achieves the Tao, even his chickens and dogs will ascend to heaven. If Liang Xinyue could be half as capable as Zhao Yuna and find a rich family, as her mother, wouldn't she be able to bask in her glory and enjoy life for the rest of her life? Chapter 2368. If Zhao Yun was a good match for Mu Lianfeng, then so be it. Zhao Yun was just an ordinary little girl. How could she hold the prince's heart? Her daughter, Liang Xinyue, was not only prettier than Zhao Yun, she was also younger. Which man didn't like young and beautiful women? If Zhao Yun had the ability and opportunity, then her daughter had even more. It was precisely because of this comparison that Wu Zhenju was extremely dissatisfied. Today, when she saw Zhao Yun's family receive all the glory, her heart felt extremely stifled. In the end, she just couldn't bear to see others living better than her, especially those who didn't live as well as her in the past. Liang Xinyue put down the chopsticks in her hand. She finally understood that her mother actually wanted to vent her anger on her. When she saw that Zhao Yun was marrying well, but she couldn't do it naturally, she felt unhappy. Actually, she also felt the same way. She was extremely jealous of Zhao Yun, but sometimes, jealousy couldn't solve the problem. Just like now, she also wanted to be like Zhao Yun, find a good man, and then get married grandly and beautifully. But was it easy to find a good man? Previously, she had taken a fancy to Mo Yan. But now, she didn't even see Mo Yan's shadow, let alone find an opportunity to cultivate feelings with Mo Yan and get together with her. Mother, if you think about it like this, whose daughter can be as capable as Sister Yun? If you think about it like this, they're all as useless as me. Not everyone has Sister Yun's luck. It's like 1 in a million. No, 1 in a million. I don't have Sister Yun's luck. Where can I find a good husband? Mother, if you think I'm wrong, give me an example. Liang Xinyue retorted unhappily. Her mother could lecture her, but she couldn't lecture her indiscriminately like this. She was almost at the age of marriage. She also felt very embarrassed to be scolded in front of so many people. If she explained the reason, her mother wouldn't nag anymore. After Liang Xinyue finished speaking, Wuxia smiled and agreed, Sister-in-law, is right. How many people can have Yun's luck? This is fate. She was born with a good life. There's no need to compare. Don't most people have ordinary lives? How many girls from the countryside had married so well? It's still very important to be matched. We can't match those who are too rich and powerful. Besides, it's not easy for you to marry someone from our town or Yang City, let alone someone like the Crown Prince. Sometimes, you have to be clear and don't be dreaming. Hearing Wuxia's words, Wu Zhenju's face suddenly darkened. She shouted at Wuxia, Sister-in-law, what do you mean? Are you saying that my Yu is not good enough? No matter how much my Yu is younger and prettier than your Yu, what right do you have to criticize my Yu? Wuxia sneered, Sister-in-law, that's not what I meant. I just wanted to tell you not to daydream sometimes. Although my Z's looks are not as good as Yu's, I'm not daydreaming. I didn't think that my Z would be able to match up to someone like Lord Shitzi like Yun. That's right. Sister-in-law, I've already told you before. Don't always talk about Yu's looks and age. She's better than my Z in this aspect, but it's difficult for her to find a husband after her engagement was broken off. Chapter 2369. When Wu Zhenju heard this, he was so angry that he almost started a fight with Wuxia. Liang Xinyue's broken engagement was a pain in her heart, but Wuxia liked to expose her scars and poke at her shortcomings. How could she not be angry? Sister-in-law, you're too mean. Can't you bear to see you get married? You hope that she can't marry into a good family. You resent. Wu Zhenju slammed the table and pointed at Wuxia as he scolded. Wuxia sneered and curled her lips. She replied, "Second sister-in-law, look at what you're saying. What do you mean I hope not? I'm just telling you the truth. Look at your reaction. Aren't you also Z's aunt? Every day, when you talk about how my Z can't do this or that, can I say a few words about your you?" Seeing that Wu Zhenju and Wuxia were about to fight, old Madame Liang was very angry. All you know is to quarrel. Both of you, shut up. Today is Yun'er's wedding day. If you want to embarrass yourself, go back home. Don't drag your eldest sister's family down with you. Old Madame Liang's face was gloomy. It was obvious that she was really angry. Wu Zhenju and Wuxia finally restrained themselves and stopped making a fuss. Compared to Wu Zhenju's anger, Wuxia was much calmer. She felt a lot better after teasing her. Who asked this second sister-in-law of hers not to have a little self-awareness? How could she not know what kind of person her daughter was? She was actually so confident that Liang Xinyue could find a good husband. In her opinion, if Liang Xinyue could find her Z, it would be even more so. Liang Xinyue lowered her head and continued to eat, but she didn't feel as good as before. Her mother had overestimated her, while her aunt had underestimated her. Either way, it wasn't good. Actually, she didn't want to marry a rich man, as long as it wasn't one of those country bumpkins. It was one thing for them to be poor, but the most important thing was that they were ugly. As long as they were half as handsome and half as mighty as Mo Yen, she would probably be willing. She really couldn't compare. After comparing, she despised everyone. Even if she didn't want to marry, she wouldn't casually marry a country bumpkin. The originally lively banquet became a little dull under the Liang family's strange occasion. Zhao Yun'er's family didn't care about the feelings of the family Qin people and continued to host the banquet. Under the cooking of the chef, the banquet was completed successfully. After that, the people in the village gathered together for a while and then left. At this moment, Yi Li, who was sitting on the tree, had already finished the entire pot of wine. There was no more wine in the cup, so Yi Li could only put down the wine pot. Seeing that Anil remained silent under the tree and didn't say a word, Yi Li raised his eyebrows and said in a low voice, "It's already so late. Why aren't you going back? Aren't you hungry if you don't eat?" When Anil saw that Yi Li actually took the initiative to talk to her and even seemed to care about her, she was instantly excited. She immediately said to Yi Li, "Are you concerned about me?" Yi Li's lips curved into a cold smile. "You're overthinking it. Why should I care about you? I just don't understand why you're doing all these useless and meaningless things in front of me." Chapter 2370. Yi Li lowered his head and glanced at Anil. There was a glimmer of light in his dark pupils, shining like stars. It was strangely attractive. Looking at his fair face, it revealed a touch of innocence, especially when he pouted and puffed up his cheeks. Yi Li thought to himself that he must be crazy. How could he think that a sissy was so pure and cute? Sigh. Could it be that he had gone mad? Yi Li choked, but the corners of his mouth continued to curl up. He calmly replied, "You can follow me if you want, but I have to go now." With that, Yi Li tapped his toes and jumped down from the tree. His qigong was very good, so when he jumped down from the tree, it felt like he was floating. Looking at Yi Li's tall and handsome back, Anil was once again mesmerized by Yi Li. Why was this man so handsome when he was depressed? How could there be such a stunner in this world? However, his infatuation only lasted for a few seconds. Anil quickly regained his senses and got up from the ground to follow Yi Li. "Yi Li, where are you going? Aren't you going to keep watching over me?" I'm watching over you, not the tree. I'll go wherever you go. Anil replied angrily. Yi Li frowned slightly and said unhappily, Don't follow me. He wanted to find a quiet place to be alone. What was a sissy following behind him? Anil pursed his lips and said unhappily, Why? You're annoying. I don't like people annoying me. Yi Li said mercilessly. Anil's heart felt like it had been pierced by something. It hurt so much. He tried to take a deep breath and braced himself to say, I just want to follow you. I didn't say anything. What right do you have to say that I'm annoying? Yi Li looked at Anil's angry face and didn't know what to say for a moment. This sissy is so wishy-washy. Sigh. Annoying. But for some reason, Yi Li didn't find Anil as annoying as before. He must be crazy. Don't waste your time on me. Yi Li reminded. A straight man like him would definitely not like a man. If a woman persevered, it would still be meaningful. But a man, could it be that she was hoping to turn him gay? What a fool's dream. I'm spending my time, not yours. It's none of your business, Anil said stubbornly. Once he set his mind on something, he would not give up easily. This was even more true for the person he liked. It wasn't easy for him to meet Yi Li, so how could he let go of this opportunity? Yi Li turned around and ignored Anil. Instead, he walked forward. Anil hurried to catch up with him. He stared at Yi Li's back and swore to himself that he would wait until the moment Yi Li accepted him. Although this dream was a little far away, only by persevering would there be a chance and possibility. If he chose to give up now, then there would be no more chances in the future. He didn't ask for anything else. He just wanted to be by Yi Li's side. As long as he could see Yi Li, that would be enough. Li didn't know when he started to know how to be satisfied. He had many things in the past, but he had never cherished them as much as he did now. By the time Yi Li returned to Zhao Yun'er's courtyard, the banquet had already ended and the courtyard was much quieter. Chapter 2371. Yi Li smiled and replied, Uncle Zhao, I just went out for a walk. I didn't go anywhere. Zhao Wenhua hurriedly said, Young Master Yi, you haven't eaten anything yet. You must be hungry, right? Quickly sit down and eat something. But seeing Zhao Wenhua's concern for him, Yi Li's heart warmed. This kind of feeling was like family. During the time he stayed at Zhao Yun'er's house, Zhao Wenhua and Liang Jinxiao had already treated him as family. There were many dishes left at the banquet that were not eaten, including some unsavory meat. Zhao Wenhua asked Yi Li what he wanted to eat. Yi Li smiled and replied that Zhao Wenhua could make anything as long as it could fill his stomach. Yi Li was not a picky eater. Zhao Wenhua made a bowl of chicken soup with some chicken in it. He handed it to Yi Li and said, Young Master Yi, have some chicken soup and eat some chicken. I'll make some dishes for you. Thank you, Uncle Zhao. Ha, you're welcome. We're family. Don't be so distant. Zhao Wenhua smiled and waved his hand. He went into the kitchen and took out a bowl. He took some of every dish. This way Yi Li could have a taste. Fortunately, the weather had cooled down. Even if these dishes could not be finished, it would not be a problem to leave them out for a day or two. Anil stood not far away and observed Yi Li's attitude and reaction. As a result, he found that Yi Li seemed to be polite and nice to everyone, but she was cold to him. Anil thought about it carefully and felt that he did not do anything wrong. What did he do that made Yi Li dislike him so much? Zhao Wenhua had just brought out a bowl of food when Hu Chunhua walked over to Zhao Wenhua and ordered, Third brother, there should be some leftovers from the banquet at your house. There should be a lot of food left, right? Hurry up and get me some. Your little sister wants to eat it. Her body is weak. You have to get her something good to nourish her body. Today was the third branch's wedding. Everyone in old Zhao's family came to attend the wedding, except for Zhao Xinhui. It wasn't that Zhao Xinhui didn't want to join in the fun and eat good food, but he had no choice. Now, Zhao Xinhui couldn't even move from his bed, let alone get out of bed to attend the banquet. Hu Chunhua did not ask for anything else. After all, she was already very happy that Zhao Xinhui could keep his life. As long as he was alive, he could slowly prepare for the future. Zhao Xinhui could slowly recuperate, and there would be a time when he would recover. Zhao Wenhua nodded and replied, "Okay, Mom, I'll go now." "Father, don't give it to her." Zhao Ping walked out angrily and stopped Zhao Wenhua. It was fine if he gave it to others, but he wasn't willing to give it to his little aunt. It was because Zhao Xinhui caused her older brother Yuan to be in this state. How could he give Zhao Xinhui good food? "You wretched lass, what are you saying?" Hua Chunhua was also angry. She glared at Zhao Ping and retorted, "I said I'm not giving it to my little aunt. Grandmother, why should we give you our third branch's food? Do you think you can have it just because you want it?" Zhao Ping wasn't afraid of Hua Chunhua and directly retorted. Hua Chunhua rolled up her sleeves and walked in front of Zhao Ping, wanting to hit Zhao Ping. This wretched lass was too much. Her daughter's injuries were so serious that she almost lost her life, and it had a lot to do with this wretched lass. Back then, if she didn't slander Zhao Xinhui in front of the county magistrate, Zhao Xinhui might not have said that she would be punished so severely, and she wouldn't have almost lost her life. Chapter 2372. You wretched lass, you're such a busybody. Since when did a married daughter like you have the right to make decisions in the third branch? Your youngest aunt is your father's younger sister, so why can't you give her some food? You've already become someone else's daughter-in-law, yet you still want to interfere with family matters. As Hua Chunhua spoke, she stretched out her jet-black claws and almost scratched Zhao Ping's face. Zhao Wenhua hurriedly stepped forward and stood between Zhao Ping and Hua Chunhua. He mediated, all right, mother. Don't bicker with that lass, Ping. I'll go get some food for my younger sister." "Father." Zhao Ping's face was filled with unhappiness as she pulled on Zhao Yunlong's sleeve. Zhao Wenhua gave Zhao Ping a look. "Lass, behave yourself. She's your grandmother. No matter what, she's still your youngest aunt. Don't be willful." "Father," Hua Chunhua pursed her lips. "Third son, it's not that I want to nag at you, but you have to discipline your daughter properly. Otherwise, she'll take advantage of you and not know the rules at all." "Mother, I understand. I'll educate that lass Ping more in the future. It's good that you understand." Zhao Ping still wanted to say something, but Zhao Wenhua was really a little angry at this time. He gave Zhao Ping another look. Only then did she reluctantly stop. Zhao Wenhua sighed heavily. Clearly, today was very lively and happy, but some people and things just had to come out and ruin their mood. Zhao Wenhua only hoped that everything would go smoothly on Zhao Yun's side. It didn't matter if he caused more trouble on his side. At this time, the wedding procession had already arrived at Yang City. Because everyone was walking, their movements were a little slow. It wasn't as fast as Zhao Yun's usual horse carriage or donkey cart. At this time, the Crown Prince's residence was decorated with red silk and satin, and it was indescribably lively. Because it was the Crown Prince's wedding, almost all the influential people in Sun City attended the banquet. This included many squires and the deputy district magistrate. When the guests who came to attend the wedding saw the procession, they immediately became excited. "The bride is here! The bride is here!" When Zhao Yun heard this figure, she knew that they had arrived at the Shitzi estate. She couldn't help but feel excited. The procession finally stopped at the entrance of the Shitzi Fu. Mu Lianfeng dismounted from his horse first, and then the matchmaker helped Zhao Yun over the brazier. Finally, they were led into the bridal chamber that the Shitzi Fu had prepared for them. After arriving at the room, Zhao Yun was left hanging while Mu Lianfeng went out to socialize. Later on, the heir apparent's residence also had to prepare a banquet. As the bridegroom, Mu Lianfeng naturally had to accompany them to drink. It was only noon, and they had to wait until night time. Zhao Yun felt very bored when she thought that there was still so much time left. Fortunately, the wedding was only for one day. Although she didn't have to do anything, she strangely felt very tired. Fortunately, before getting married, Zhao Yun ate a lot based on her experience. Now, she even secretly stuffed a few pieces of pastries into her sleeves. Even if she waited until nighttime, she wouldn't be very hungry. However, it didn't feel good to be alone in the room and wait for half a day. The room was quiet, but Zhao Yun'er could feel the festive atmosphere in the Shixi estate. Because it was a rare occasion for the crown prince to get married, even the servants in the crown prince's residence were especially excited. They were busy and didn't stop for a moment. Chapter 2373. Zhao Yun'er quickly sat up and tidied up her clothes. The red veil on her head was still intact and did not fall off. As soon as Mu Lianfeng walked into the bridal chamber, the air was immediately filled with the smell of alcohol. Although Mu Lianfeng had lost a lot of alcohol today, his mind was still clear. He saw Zhao Yun'er sitting in front of the bed and walked toward Zhao Yun. Mu Lianfeng murmured. His Yun'er had finally become his wife today. At this moment, he experienced a happiness that he had never felt before. Zhao Yun'er responded. Mu Lianfeng walked toward the bed and lifted Zhao Yun'er's red veil. The two of them were not really newlyweds. Unlike other people in this era, they lived together every day before they got married and were very familiar with each other. After lifting the red veil, Zhao Yun'er and Mu Lianfeng's eyes met. Zhao Yun'er was dressed in a red wedding dress and dressed up meticulously. In Mu Lianfeng's eyes, Zhao Yun'er looked indescribably delicate and charming today. Mu Lianfeng was already handsome to begin with. Coupled with the fact that he was getting married today, he was in high spirits and looked even more handsome and elegant. Yun'er, you're so beautiful today. After Mu Lianfeng praised her, he hugged Zhao Yun'er's waist and couldn't wait to kiss his bride. Because they hadn't seen each other for a while, Mu Lianfeng missed Zhao Yun'er indescribably. It was said that absence made the heart grow fonder. After being separated for a few days, his mind was filled with Zhao Yun'er's figure. After waiting for so long, Zhao Yun'er was finally here. Mu Lianfeng couldn't imagine if he left Yang City and Zhao Yun'er for a little longer. Would he get lovesick? Zhao Yun'er's mouth was suddenly blocked. The smell of Mu Lianfeng's alcohol filled her entire mouth. Zhao Yun'er pushed Mu Lianfeng out. Cover. She felt that this guy would eat her up. He came aggressively and grabbed her head. He was very domineering. After pushing for a while, she couldn't push Mu Lianfeng away. Zhao Yun'er pouted aggrievedly. This guy only knew how to bully people. Sigh. After enduring Mu Lianfeng's wanton behavior, Mu Lianfeng let go of her after a while. And Zhao Yun'er had already been instigated to have some desire. Her body and cheeks were red as she waited for Mu Lianfeng's next move. However, after kissing her wildly, Mu Lianfeng pecked her on the forehead. Then he stared at her as if he couldn't get enough of her. Zhao Yun'er also looked at Mu Lianfeng. This man's eyes were surprisingly beautiful and a little bright. And looking at her affectionately gave her a different feeling. Aren't we going to continue? Zhao Yun'er asked weakly. Continue what? Mu Lianfeng raised his eyebrows and asked. Zhao Yun'er pouted. This guy must be doing it on purpose. Of course, we're going to consummate our marriage. After saying that, Zhao Yun'er's cheeks turned even redder. Wouldn't it be shameless of her to take the initiative to court him? When she was doing that with Mu Lianfeng, it had always been Mu Lianfeng who took the initiative. As a woman, Zhao Yun'er felt that it was too shy of her to take the initiative. Mu Lianfeng's lips curled up slightly as if he was smiling. Zhao Yun'er wondered if this guy was mocking her. Chapter 2374. Mu Lianfeng whispered gently in Zhao Yun'er's ear. In fact, compared to Zhao Yun'er, he couldn't wait to have her. He wanted to have sex with her and release the longing that he had been suppressing these days. However, he had to control himself when he wanted Zhao Yun'er because he had to consider Zhao Yun'er. It was not easy for Zhao Yun'er to marry him. If he woke up too late tomorrow, he wouldn't even have time to serve tea. He was afraid that not only old Madame Mu, but also the whole Shixi mansion would have a problem with Zhao Yun. The worst thing about a rich family was that they had too many rules. They were not as honest as the villagers. Once he and Zhao Yun'er consummated their marriage and aroused that kind of desire, he was afraid that he wouldn't have enough. After a night of torment, how could Zhao Yun'er have the strength to get up the next day? So, he had to endure it today. After he followed the rules, he would get it back from Zhao Yun tomorrow night. Zhao Yun was suddenly embarrassed. Then, let's sleep. Although she still couldn't help it, Zhao Yun felt that Mu Lianfeng was more reasonable. She had to get up early tomorrow to serve tea. She wasn't afraid of old Madame Mu, but she wanted to follow the rules thoroughly. At least, old Madame Mu wouldn't have an excuse to find fault with her. Okay, go and wash up first. But she had heavy makeup on her face, so she had to wash it first. After a good night's sleep, Zhao Yun woke up early the next morning. According to the rules, she served tea to old Madame Mu. Zhao Yun was worried that old Madame Mu would give her a hard time. To Zhao Yun's surprise, old Madame Mu didn't make things difficult for her this time. Zhao Yun was really surprised. Could it be that old Madame Mu had sincerely accepted her? Although she had doubts in her heart, seeing that old Madame Mu didn't find fault with her, it was better than before. The servants of the Crown Prince's residence were quite courteous to her. After all, she was now married to Mu Lianfeng, and it was under the auspices of the emperor. No matter how much the servants looked down on Zhao Yun's identity as an ordinary citizen, they didn't dare to say anything. They didn't dare to be disrespectful to Zhao Yun. Otherwise, if they were investigated, they wouldn't be able to bear the consequences. After the wedding, Zhao Yun stayed in the Shitsi manor for 2 days. She really couldn't stand the strict lifestyle of a rich family. She was much more comfortable in the countryside. Every day, she would chat and laugh with her relatives. Although there might be more weirdos in the village, she still felt that the countryside was better. How could Mu Lianfeng not see Zhao Yun's discomfort? He decided to take Zhao Yun back to the countryside. He was going to leave Yang City soon. During this period of time, he asked Zhao Yun to stay at his house. Although the Crown Prince's residence was good, it was not as comfortable as living in the countryside. He only hoped that Zhao Yun could live comfortably. It didn't matter even if she wasn't in the Shitsi manor. If Zhao Yun still wanted to stay at home in the future, then he would accompany her. Compared to the Shitsi manor, Mu Lianfeng also preferred Shuilan village. Staying at Zhao Yun's house made him feel at home. As for the Shitsi manor, it was much more desolate. In the Shitsi manor, except for old Madame Mu, everyone else was a servant to Mu Lianfeng. And the servants were too formal with him. Due to etiquette, there wasn't a natural and relaxed feeling when interacting with him. It was different when he was with Zhao Yun's family. The family was harmonious and beautiful. It was simple but happy. Chapter 2375. The emperor was also with them. The emperor was going back to the palace in a few days. A few days before he went back, he thought about going to the countryside to play again. If he went back to the palace, he would not be able to experience the happiness of the people in the countryside. Without the restrictions of the Shitsi mansion, Zhao Yun lived a much more comfortable life. Sure enough, she was used to being free in the 21st century. She was not used to the rules of those rich families. Fortunately, she did not have to live in the Shitsi mansion for a long time. Otherwise, she felt that she might not be able to stand it. Back in Shuilan village, the air seemed to have become a lot fresher. The carriage stopped in the courtyard of Zhao Yun's house. This time, it was also a return to the family. Old Madame Mu was not stingy. She bought many gifts for Zhao Yun and brought them back to her parents' house. Zhao Yun's family had already eaten breakfast. In the morning, Yi Li helped Zhao Yun's family chop wood in the courtyard. Chopping wood was a physical work. Yi Li felt that his physical strength was much stronger than Zhao Wenhua's. Moreover, Zhao Wenhua was old and his waist was not very good. Naturally, he would do this kind of work. Since he was at Zhao Yun's house and had nothing to do, he would do his best where he could. What he could do now was to share the worries of Zhao Yun's family. Also, after living in Zhao Yun's house for so long, the third branch's family had been good to him. Naturally, he should repay their kindness and not be lazy at home and do nothing. For Yi Li, who had been practicing martial arts for a long time, chopping wood was too easy. He raised his axe and swung it down, splitting the wood into 2 halves. Anil watched from the side with a look of obsession. He did not know why, but he felt that Yi Li's appearance when chopping wood was particularly handsome. He always felt that he had an inexhaustible strength. Men should be like this. He was not interested in those who were like Sissy. Although they were handsome, they were as weak as women. Yi Li chopped the firewood while Anil sat in front of the table, propping up his chin with one hand and staring at Yi Li. If this had happened in the past, Yi Li probably wouldn't have been able to accept it. But now that he was used to it, he didn't think much of it. If he wants to look, then let him look. He can just pretend that he doesn't know. Anyway, Anil wouldn't pay attention to her even if she asked Anil not to look at her. When Zhao Yun'er's carriage stopped in the courtyard, Anil and Yi Li both looked towards the carriage. They knew that Zhao Yun'er had returned. Yi Li wiped a thin layer of sweat on her forehead. There was a touch of expectation in her eyes. He hadn't seen Zhao Yun'er for a few days, and he missed her a little. Now that he saw Zhao Yun'er's familiar figure, he was a little excited. When Anil saw Yi Li's reaction, he knew that Yi Li was always thinking about Zhao Yun'er. He was sad, but he was also happy for Yi Li. In fact, as long as Yi Li was happy, he was happy. Even if he knew that Yi Li was happy because of another woman. However, the figure that came out of the carriage stunned Anil. It was an extremely familiar figure wearing bright yellow clothes. Anil was so scared that he quickly turned his head and wanted to escape. Unfortunately, it was too late. He had been caught by that person. Stop! The emperor roared with a slightly dignified voice. And Lu immediately stopped in his tracks. His brows furrowed together as he turned his head away reluctantly. Hee. Anil smiled at the emperor, but his smile was a little stubborn. The emperor walked in front of Anil and carefully sized up Anil. His expression was very serious. Chapter 2376. And Li's face was filled with smiles as he tried to curry favor. Tell me, how did you come here after a long journey? Who gave you the courage to come here? The emperor raised his eyebrows and continued to question him. Anil's expression became more colorful. He didn't know what to say with a crying face. Why was he so unlucky? He thought that he would be fine after escaping last time. Who knew that the emperor would come again? If he had known that the emperor would come, he would have quickly hidden. He wouldn't have been caught red-handed. Unfortunately, it was useless to say anything now because he had already been caught. Didn't I think that it was too boring at home? You can come out for a walk? Why can't I? I also want to play. After coming out, I realized how good it is outside and how carefree it is here. Anil said aggrievedly. He had been cooped up in that courtyard deep in the palace. He was probably bored like a canary. Now, he really experienced a sense of happiness that he had never felt before. If he hadn't come out, how could he have known about the carefree days outside? You're so carefree. Aren't you afraid that your mother will be worried after coming out? The emperor glared at Anil. She won't be worried about me. She will only force me to do things that I don't like. Anil complained again. You're becoming more and more undisciplined and out of control. The emperor poked Anil's head a few times with his finger. After being scolded by the emperor, Anil pulled the emperor's sleeve and said aggrievedly, How am I undisciplined and out of control? I'm just bored out of my mind. Don't argue with me, okay? Alright. Don't say any more. It's not convenient to say it here. The emperor cleared his throat. Because he couldn't let Zhao Yun'er's family know his identity, it was naturally inconvenient to say some things. The fact that the emperor and Anil knew each other was out of Zhao Yun'er's expectations. She knew that Anil's identity wasn't simple from the way he dressed. However, she didn't associate Anil with the emperor. Since he was so familiar with Emperor Huang, it meant that Anil should be a relative of the emperor. This identity wasn't simple. Zhao Yun didn't know what kind of charm or secret attraction her family had that attracted these people with unusual identities to come here. You know each other? Zhao Yun'er smiled. The emperor also turned to smile and answer, Yes, this is my family's little brother. What a coincidence. Zhao Yun'er said. The emperor's little brother. That must be a prince. This identity was indeed not simple. No wonder Enlu could be so rich when he spent money previously. With her brother, the emperor, she could have as much money as she wanted. And Lu also grinned. That's right, that's right. Miss Yun, this is my big brother. I didn't expect you to know him. Looks like we're fated to meet. Huh, sometimes fate is really wonderful. Hee hee, Miss Yun, if I had known that you and my big brother knew each other, I would have come earlier. I wouldn't have waited until now. After Annel finished speaking, the emperor knocked on Annel's head. What? Don't you feel that you're causing trouble for others? How could I? Annel muttered unhappily. He said it as if he was a troublemaker. Chapter 2377. He was used to being pampered and spoiled. When had he ever done such menial work? Thus, Annel felt that he was already very good at coming to Zhao Yun'er's house to do these things. Unfortunately, his imperial brother still felt that he was causing trouble for her. Perhaps in his imperial brother's eyes, he was someone who didn't do proper work. The emperor turned to Zhao Yun'er and said apologetically, Miss Yun'er, I didn't know that this fellow actually snuck out from home. He's caused trouble for Miss Yun'er's family these days. I'll bring him back when I go back in a few days. When Madame An heard this, she immediately became anxious. Brother, I don't want to go back. What nonsense are you talking about? Don't tell me you want to stay in someone else's house for the rest of your life? Stay in the countryside for the rest of your life? You have to be clear about your status. The emperor's expression became serious again, as if there was no room for negotiation. Annel tugged at the emperor's arm and said coquettishly, Brother, I really don't want to go back. It's not as fun at home as here. It's so nice here. I'm very safe here. Brother, please let me stay, I beg of you. I like it here. I want to stay here. I said no means no. There's no room for discussion. You actually snuck out this time. It's good enough that I didn't settle the score with you. You're still pushing your luck. The emperor snorted coldly. Annel pursed his lips and looked at the emperor with a hint of hidden bitterness. You're a bad person. I'm ignoring you. Annel angrily ran away as he spoke. Stop right there. The emperor was also a little angry. He was spoiled and used to being willful. That was why he was somewhat undisciplined. If he continued to be willful, who knew what would happen to him? But Annel stubbornly refused. He continued to run forward, crying as he ran. When Zhao Yun'er saw Annel's appearance, she felt some sympathy for Annel. Sigh. Perhaps many people didn't like living in the imperial palace. How could they be as comfortable as living in her home? No wonder Annel wanted to stay in her home. She wouldn't even be willing to go back to the Z residence, let alone a place like the imperial palace. The emperor looked at Annel's fleeing figure and sighed helplessly. Sigh. Then he smiled at Zhao Yun'er and Mu Lianfeng and said, Sorry for making a fool of myself. He's used to it. It's fine. Let's go inside and have a seat. Mu Lianfeng said. It was indeed tiring to rush back, so there was no need to continue standing. The emperor nodded and followed Zhao Yun'er into the room. After resting for a while at Zhao Yun'er's house, Yili was not affected and continued to chop wood. When Annel was around, it was Annel who stared at Yili. Now that Annel had left, the emperor sat in front of the table and watched Yili chop wood. Yili felt very upset. This pair of brothers was really interesting. It was one thing for Annel to stare at him non-stop, but why did an older brother also stare at him non-stop? What was there to look at for a man like him? Why did a man have to stare at another man? He didn't understand. These two brothers must have some special fetishes, but he just couldn't accept such fetishes. Yili could only comfort himself and pretend that he didn't know. In any case, it wasn't the first time he was stared at. Zhao Yun'er was preparing to go to the kitchen to cook when she saw the emperor looking at Yili with a scorching and suspicious gaze. She couldn't help imagining a rotten scene. She couldn't be blamed for thinking too much. The emperor was really too concerned about Yili. Chapter 2378. It was a good thing that Yili was skilled in martial arts and could protect himself well. Otherwise, in the 21st century, people would really start to plot against him. Ahem, young Master Huang, is there anything you want to eat for lunch? Zhao Yun'er walked in front of the emperor and asked. After all, the emperor wouldn't be staying at her house for long, so she had to take care of him as much as possible. The emperor snapped out of his daze and smiled at Zhao Yun'er. Miss Yun'er, just make a few simple home-cooked dishes. I can eat them all. Zhao Yun'er nodded. All right. I'll just make a few simple dishes. There were quite a few home-cooked dishes, such as shredded pork with green peppers, hot and sour shredded potatoes, garlic eggplant. These dishes tasted pretty good, so the emperor would definitely like them. I'll have to trouble Miss Yun'er. The emperor smiled. Just as Zhao Yun'er was about to enter the kitchen to cook, the emperor spoke again. This young master Ye's martial arts are pretty good. And he's vigorous and powerful. He's a talent. When Zhao Yun'er heard this, she smiled and said, That's right, Yi Li's martial arts are indeed pretty good. But why did she feel that the emperor's words sounded a little strange? It was because the emperor admired Yi Li that Zhao Yun'er felt strange. Could it be that the emperor admired Yi Li's talents so much that he liked Yi Li so much? If that was the case, then it was fine. As long as the emperor didn't fancy Yi Li's face, then it was fine. After the emperor finished speaking, he inwardly shook his head. AI, it's such a pity. Such a talent is actually willing to stay in this mountain village and chop wood. It's such a waste of talent. The emperor had a regretful expression on his face. The corner of Zhao Yun'er's mouth twitched. Was the emperor feeling sorry for Yi Li? She had thought that the emperor had other thoughts towards Yi Li, but now it seemed that the emperor only admired Yi Li's talent. He felt that it was a pity that Yi Li could not use his skills in her family. However, everyone had their own goals. Zhao Yun'er knew that Yi Li wasn't an ambitious person. All he wanted was an ordinary life. As for saying that his abilities were wasted, in fact, different personal evaluations would lead to different conclusions. The so-called waste was relative to the national level. The emperor was the one in power, so he naturally wanted people like Yi Li to serve the country. As for Zhao Yun'er, Yi Li was her friend. It wasn't important whether Yi Li could do something earth-shattering. What was important was whether Yi Li was happy. As long as Yi Li felt that this was the best way of life for him and that he could always be happy, then that was the best. In response to the emperor's words, Zhao Yun'er only smiled and did not respond. Zhao Yun'er walked into the kitchen and started cooking. The emperor continued to stare at Yi Li. After Yi Li finished chopping wood, the emperor called out to Yi Li, Young hero Yi, come and sit. Yi Li glanced at the emperor indifferently. He felt that the emperor was a little too concerned and harbored ill intentions. So he ignored the emperor and glanced at him indifferently. What do you want? Young hero Yi, I think we can talk, the emperor said with a smile. Yi Li proudly raised his chin and replied, We have nothing to talk about. After speaking, Yi Li turned and went into the kitchen. He fetched a basin of water and washed his body. His body was covered in sweat from chopping wood just now. It was very uncomfortable when the sweat stuck together. He would only feel comfortable after washing his body. Chapter 2379. He took a towel and wiped himself. Because his back was also soaked in sweat, he took off his jacket. After taking off his jacket, his powerful muscles were revealed. Yi Li's muscles were not like those of overly muscular fitness trainers. This kind of muscular figure gave people a sense of strength, but it did not feel too excessive. The people in the courtyard also saw Yi Li's appearance when he took off his jacket. Actually, it was very common for people in the countryside to be topless. This was because the men in the countryside looked like this when they went to work in the fields. They did not feel embarrassed to be topless. When it was time for lunch, Anil was hungry, so he came back helplessly. He wanted to have some backbone, but unfortunately, backbone could not be eaten. His stomach was growling from hunger. He was the one suffering, not his imperial brother. It was not worthwhile for him to do this for his imperial brother. Sigh, Anil sighed heavily. In the end, it was because he was not capable enough. Otherwise, he would have known how to take charge of his own life. When he came back, he saw Yi Li bathing in the courtyard. That muscular figure was exposed to the air, and he almost vomited blood. He knew that Yi Li had a good figure, but he did not expect Yi Li's figure to be so good. His gaze landed on Yi Li, and for a moment he could not look away. He was so excited that he almost vomited blood, but he could not help but continue to look. He kept screaming in his heart, "Damn, damn, damn." This scene was really explosive. It would be fine if it was someone else, but it just had to be Yi Li, the person he loved the most. How could he not have some thoughts when he saw him topless? Not far away, the emperor saw this scene and was a little angry. He quickly walked forward and blocked in front of Annel. He covered Annel's eyes and whispered in Annel's ear, "Damn girl, shameless. What are you looking at?" "Imperial brother." Annel, who was blindfolded, could not do it. He quickly pushed the emperor away. "You're still looking? You've only been out for a few days. Have you forgotten all the etiquette and shame you've learned before?" The emperor asked in a serious tone. "I didn't. I just looked at it by accident." "Seriously?" Annel pouted unhappily. "You still dare to say that? I'll teach you a lesson when we get back." "I'm not going back. I want to stay here," Anlu still said with some firmness. "Stay here? Wicked girl, was it because of Yi Li? I see that the way you look at him is a bit different." The emperor's eyes were somewhat sizing him up. He narrowed his eyes and stared at Anlu. Annel felt a little guilty and replied stubbornly, "No. Of course not." "Damn girl, don't I know you well enough? What can you hide from me?" The corners of the emperor's mouth curled up as if he had seen through Annel. Annel felt hurt. Her imperial brother was really bullying her. He wanted her to go back, saw through her thoughts, and mercilessly exposed her. He did not give her any face at all. "So what if it is? I like Yi Li. I like him. So what? He's handsome and capable. It's normal to admire him, right? Brother, I won't go back. I won't let you and Imperial Mother arrange my marriage." Chapter 2380. Annel said with a stubborn expression. Before she met Anlu, she simply didn't want to marry someone she didn't like. But now she met Yi Li. She was determined to marry Yi Li even if she had to marry in the future. She was used to being thick-skinned, so she wasn't embarrassed to say this in front of the emperor. The emperor frowned. "Annel, don't forget that you're a princess. With your status, your marriage isn't something you can decide. Your husband, the future prince consort, was carefully selected by Imperial Mother for you. They are all giants among men. Your status is only worthy of the best. How could a country bumpkin like Yi Li not be worthy of your status?" "What's wrong with Yi Li? I think Yi Li is pretty good. How could a normal country bumpkin compare to him?" Annel couldn't help but defend Yi Li. She never felt that the status of a princess was very noble. If this status was a reason to bind her, then she would rather not have this status. Forget about whether Yi Li was worthy of her. As long as Yi Li could accept her, she would rather abandon everything and be with Yi Li. "He's nothing. How can he not be a country bumpkin?" "Alright, stop being so willful. Your parents' orders and matchmakers' words are not for you to mess around with. Imperial older brother? You're my good imperial older brother. Please help me." Annel immediately put on a pitiful expression and looked at the emperor with pleading eyes. "Help you? Anlu, it's not like you don't know. Although Zhen is the monarch of a country and can make a lot of decisions, I can't control Imperial Mother's affairs. What Imperial Mother wants to do is her own decision. How can I dare to intervene?" The emperor mercilessly refused. Annel pursed her lips and her face was full of grievance. If even her imperial older brother couldn't do anything, then it was even more impossible for Imperial Mother. Then there would be no chance between her and Yi Li. "Royal brother, why don't you give Yi Li an official position? As long as you say it, it's not a big deal." Anlu looked at the emperor and begged. "An official position? How high was his rank? If he didn't do anything, it would be unreasonable for us to suddenly bestow him a high official position, and it would be inevitable that others would have opinions. But if it was just a small official position, it wouldn't have any effect. Can Imperial Mother take a fancy to someone with a small official position?" Although what the emperor said was true, It was another thing to hear the emperor say the truth. Annel's face was gloomy and unhappy. He did not know what to do. However, but what? Annel asked anxiously. However, I feel that this young Master Yi is quite capable. If he can serve the country, he will definitely achieve great things. If he can do something, it won't be difficult for me to slowly promote him. Hearing the emperor's words, Annel's heart was filled with hope again. That's right, that's right. Imperial older brother, young Master Ye's martial arts are very powerful. If Imperial older brother can make him serve the court, he will definitely be able to achieve great things. Annel began to look forward to it. People like Yi Li should not be ordinary. He hoped that his Imperial older brother could really use Yi Li. His Imperial older brother helplessly curled his lips, but young Master Yi doesn't have that intention. If he is willing, we would be happy to use such a talent. Chapter 2381. The Emperor pondered for a moment and felt that Annel's words made some sense. It would be a pity not to make use of a talent like Yi Li. It seemed that he had to properly persuade Yi Li while he was at Zhao Yun'er's house and make Yi Li willing to work for the court. Annel, if this Yi Gongzi agrees with us, then you have to come back with us. Don't wander around outside. It's not like the palace outside. You're just lucky that you didn't meet any bad people. The Emperor warned. Annel nodded heavily. Of course, Imperial brother. If Yi Gongzi can serve the country and become a high official, then I can marry him. I'll listen to everything Imperial brother says. Alright. In the next few days, the Emperor did his best to persuade Yi Li while he was at Zhao Yun'er's house. He wanted Yi Li to accept him and serve the court. Although Yi Li was a bit surprised when he found out about the Emperor's identity, he quickly recovered and put on his usual aloof attitude. He didn't care about the Emperor's identity at all. If it was anyone else, they probably wouldn't have the guts. However, Yi Li was like a proud little prince. In Yi Li's opinion, the court's matters had nothing to do with him. He didn't care about the court or the country. As long as he was happy and comfortable, that was the most important thing. However, from the conversation between Zhao Yun'er, the Emperor, and Mu Lianfeng, he found out that Mu Lianfeng was going to the border. This meant that Mu Lianfeng would be away from Zhao Yun'er for a while. This wasn't the most important thing. What Yi Li was worried about was that the matter Mu Lianfeng was dealing with this time might be more troublesome. He didn't know how long it would take. If Mu Lianfeng couldn't come back for a long time, Zhao Yun'er would miss him very much. If she were to encounter any danger again, Zhao Yun'er would be worried all day long. For Yi Li, he did not have many goals in life. His only goal was to make sure that Zhao Yun'er was well. Nothing else mattered to him. This time, in order for Mu Lianfeng to return earlier and take less risks, Yi Li told the Emperor that he was willing to follow Mu Lianfeng to the frontier fortress to take charge of the matters there and assist Mu Lianfeng. When the Emperor saw that Yi Li had taken the initiative to volunteer, he knew that it was not easy. How could he refuse Yi Li? He immediately agreed. A few days later, Mu Lianfeng and Yi Li did not stay long in Shuilan village before they set off for the frontier fortress. She didn't know how long this farewell would take. After Mu Lianfeng left, although Zhao Yun'er often missed Mu Lianfeng, her life was not affected too much. She still lived her life as usual. She still cared about oil, salt, soy sauce, vinegar, and tea. After Qin Yuan recuperated at Zhao Yun'er's house for a while, the injury on his butt was much better. After a few more days of recuperation, he would be able to get out of bed and walk around. Zhao Pinger, on the other hand, was preparing for a major undertaking of hers, which was to become beautiful. Speaking of which, the third household was a bit surprised. They originally thought that Zhao Pinger's face could not be saved. However, Zhao Pinger went to the town's doctor to take a look. Unexpectedly, it could be slowly treated. The doctor prescribed a medicine for the birthmark on Zhao Pinger's face. After applying it every day, the birthmark on her face became lighter and lighter. You're tuning in to the Wang Lin's Journey YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.